Right. This is going to be the tune. Go on, find it for the crack. Just give us a wee bit.
How does this work?
I never even heard of it.
Yeah, you have.
No, I haven't. Well, right. Go on, take your time.
So I do that, and then I put that up, and then I do this.
No, right, go on. Other fader. You're joking.
No.
The best song ever.
No, it's my favourite song at the moment. That was the conversation yesterday, so you don't even listen to me.
Oh, no, Daddy. You can do better than that. You ask somebody at home and give me a cool song to say.
No, I didn't. All I can do is be honest.
All right, okay. Who is that again?
Rima.
Who?
Rima.
You're sneaky. You say something. You can't.
Say it quick. Rima.
Rima.
Yep, there you go. Calm down.
God, I'll have to
calm down.
Daddy doesn't float my boat at the minute anyway.
It's all right, son. If you like the same music as I like, that's when I'll stop listening to music. All right, then. Thanks. On for a minute past 9. A news update time as we head towards the 9 till noon show. Hi, Donal.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. The Mica Action Group is urging Housing Minister Darragh O'Brien to attend a public meeting of affected homeowners to outline how he believes the recently published Enhanced Effective Concrete Block scheme will work. The group says Department of Housing officials have indicated they believe the vast majority of those affected will receive 100% redress, but they say this is at odds with what homeowners working through the practicalities of the scheme are finding. With more, here's Tara Duggan.
The Mica Action Group says the gap between the department's claim and the experience of homeowners is very wide indeed. Therefore, they say they're asking the Minister and officials responsible for the design of the scheme to come back to Donegal to explain to impacted homeowners how they see it working, with facts, figures and examples to back up their statements. They also want Minister Darragh O'Brien to genuinely listen and take on board the concerns of the affected homeowners. In a letter sent to the Minister, they say they've been inundated with requests for support in the interpretation of the legislation and its practical application to homeowners' situations. In the absence of meaningful clarification and guidance from the government, they say homeowner representatives are once more in a situation where they're attempting to afford the support and leadership that the Minister and his colleagues have failed to deliver.
An Irish MEP has proposed the establishment of an EU one-stop shop in Belfast, together with the appointment of an EU economic envoy to Northern Ireland. Sean Kelly says that under the Windsor framework, Northern Ireland enjoys access to both the EU and UK internal markets. That, he says, puts the North in a unique position post-Brexit, where it can become a gateway to two of the world's largest markets, and harnessing this potential could bring significant economic benefits to the region. Sean Kelly also believes this would have positive benefits for the border counties by strengthening cross-border initiatives, such as the North West City region.
Yes, and those cross-border links need to grow, not diminish. And I think by having definite places like one-stop shops and people like the envoy available working on these situations and helping those on the ground to develop it will absolutely make life better for people, make them avail of the opportunities that are going to be there, and above all help them to feel no longer isolated.
And concerns have been raised regarding the state of crash barriers in Donegal. Speaking at a council meeting this week, Councillor Noel Jordan said it must be a priority as it's a matter of safety. He added that one particular barrier in Mount Charles, which was erected following 2 fatalities, has been badly eroded by salt water. Councillor Jordan says barriers should be regularly inspected and repairs carried out as soon as the need is identified. He says lack of funding can't be an excuse for delays.
We've been told that the funding package is not in place. It takes a specialised crew to maintain these, and it's substantial money. But money should be forgotten about in this because it's about saving people's lives. There's no point in putting up crash barriers and just left there to rot or to be damaged in some cases as well. That there's no protection on that when they're in that state.
Well, the forecast mostly cloudy this morning with patchy light rain, drizzle and mist, brightening up somewhat in the afternoon and evening with some sunny intervals developing. There will be scattered showers as well, though. Top temperatures today 16 or 17 degrees Celsius in a light to moderate westerly wind. That's Highland Radio News. Back with more at 10 o'clock.
Joe Brolly's genetic makeup drove him to lift championships, collect all-stars, and now informs his cutting-edge opinions. GAA is in Joe's DNA, and it's in ours at Independent Sport. Read Joe's microscopic GAA coverage in the Irish Independent and Sunday Independent. Irish Independent. Up close and independent.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, The 9 till Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning to you. 5 minutes past 9 on this Thursday, the 27th of July, 2023. How are you all keeping? I do hope you're very well indeed, and you're very welcome along to another show, The 9 till Noon Show. And a busy one for you as always. Lots for you to get involved in conversation-wise. The numbers to do so, WhatsApps and your texts to 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000, or you can give us a call on 07491 25,000. If you want to email, it's comments@highlandradio.com. And a very visual show for you today, as always. Plenty of guests for you to watch if you wish to on our YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland. You can watch on your phone, your tablet, your laptop, your big screen, your smart TV, no bother. It's on there, the YouTube app, or your Fire Stick. And we're across Facebook as well, Highland Hub, Highland Radio News and Sport, and on our own website, just click Watch Live. No doubting the big story of the day from a national perspective. It's on the front of all the papers and inside, and that is the very tragic passing, sad passing, just 56 years of age, of Sinead O'Connor. If you want to share an opinion or an experience, maybe you met Sinead, maybe you were at one of her concerts, maybe something important in your life happened that is connected to her, well, feel free to share those thoughts with us on 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000. We'll be covering that, of course, a little later on, but we always start with the local newspapers, so we'll stick with that. The Tyrconnell Tribune this morning tells us that as the Fanad community reacts to the shock decision by Father Pat McGarvey to quit the parish, Bishop Alan McGuckian has said that over the next while, priests from neighbouring parishes will be available to ensure that services are provided. It may be some considerable time before a new parish priest is appointed. Meanwhile, Sunday masses are cancelled in 2 of the 4 churches in the parish. In his comments at Sunday's masses, Father McGarvey said, "I'm finished in Fanad." He delivered his unscripted comments before imparting the final blessing. He added, "I've nothing more to give. I've nothing more left to give. The spark has gone," he said. In his final remarks, Father McGarvey added, "It's been a tough few years. It's been a lonesome time. I need a good rest. I've discussed it with the bishop and my own family. Where the future goes, I do not know." And suddenly, he was gone. As parishioners sought confirmation about upcoming family events in the parish, for the first time ever, the Fanad Weekly newsletter did not provide any details about clerical contacts for the next week. Meanwhile, members of the congregation in Fanad told the Tribune that in all honesty, they were not shocked by the decision because of the intensity of Father McGarvey's workload, especially since he was the only resident priest since being appointed parish priest in November 2011. So we reached out to the bishop to see if he had any comment on that, and he said not at this time. The Donegal Democrat this morning, a decayed gymnasium at Finner Camp, a decayed gymnasium at Finner Camp, which was at the point of being dangerous, is to get a major makeover. The building was put out of commission due to structural damage. Soldiers in the 28th Infantry Battalion have had to use a makeshift weights room since the gym building was shut down. If you want more on that, it's on the front of that paper today. The Donegal News this morning, a Donegal woman who was raped and sexually assaulted by her father when she was a child said she waived her right to anonymity to help end the stigma that is associated with such crimes. Karen Harkin, 22, from Buncrana, made an emotional address outside the Criminal Courts of Justice in Dublin this week after her father, 55-year-old Michael Carter, was sentenced to 10.5 years in jail. Karen Harkin, who I've quoted there, will be joining me on this programme shortly to discuss her experience, to discuss her decision off the back of her experience to speak publicly, to waive her anonymity, what she hopes to achieve from that. So stay tuned for that. Karen will be joining me very shortly. I believe it's very shortly. It's on this programme anyway. It is first, isn't it? Yeah. The Derry News this morning, the parents of a young Derry boy who underwent major brain surgery 2 years ago have spoken of their joy as they watched him play in his first ever Foyle Cup. Young Caleb Toland, just 7, scored a goal for Maiden City Colts as his emotional mum and dad, Richie and Anya, cheered on from the sidelines. It must have been a wonderful feeling for Caleb and mum and dad there as well. So on to the Nationals, as I say, which which are dominated by news of the passing at just 56 years of age of Sinead O'Connor. Sinead O'Connor, the way I observed her was as a human. I mean, an amazing artist. There's no doubt about that. An amazing catalogue of music she produced. I'm not going to lie, it wouldn't necessarily have been the type of stuff I listened to, but I could recognise good music, and I know it touched so many people. But what attracted me particularly to her, though, was her vulnerability. The fact that she's just like one of us, that she lived through battles with her mental health like many of us do, like many people we talk to on this programme do. The awful, that she had relationship breakups, difficult relationships. She had people talking about her. A lot of stuff that a lot of people can, particularly in the world of social media now, can relate to, even if they're not famous people like Sinead O'Connor. Trying to find her place in everything, it seemed. She was an incredibly powerful voice at the time, really, when Ireland needed it. Not everyone's going to agree with some of the stuff she advocated for, but she was incredibly powerful in speaking about child sexual abuse, and was proven to be correct in much of what she said. Other things, obviously, that she did are not going to appeal to everybody. And then, of course, she lost her son, Shane, who meant so much to her last year. And I was watching some of the videos she posted since, and you could see she was carrying that loss with her very deeply. And probably, do you ever have spoken to people on this programme before that have been predeceased by their children, and you'd never get over it? Your life changes forever. And it was that part of her life, the human struggles, which are tough enough, but having to do them in the public eye, that resonated more with me, if that makes sense, than the music. Because I love music, but I'm not, I'm not deep into it. But I recognise that she made some absolutely amazing music. There's just no doubt about that. President Michael D. Higgins said Sinead O'Connor had a unique talent, an extraordinary connection with her audience as Ireland and the world of music reacted to her death at the age of 56. Her family said in a statement last night, "It is with great sadness that we announce the passing of our beloved Sinead. Her family and friends are devastated and have requested privacy at this very difficult time. Privacy I hope they are afforded." President Higgins said in a statement, "May I send my deepest condolences to Sinead O'Connor's father, John, the members of her family, and to all of those whom she shared her life. My first reaction on hearing the news of Sinead's loss was to remember her extraordinarily beautiful, unique voice. What was striking in all of the recordings she made and in all her appearances was the authenticity of the performances. While her commitment to the delivery of the song and its meaning was total, to those of us who had the privilege of knowing her, one couldn't but always be struck by the depth of her fearless commitment to the important issues which she brought to public attention, no matter how uncomfortable those truths may have been. What Ireland has lost at such a relatively young age is one of our greatest and most gifted composers, songwriters and performers of recent decades, one who had a unique talent and extraordinary connection with her audience, all of whom held such love and warmth for her." President Higgins said O'Connor's voice and delivery was in so many different ways original, extraordinary, and left one with a deep impression that to have accomplished all she did while carrying the burdens she did was a powerful achievement in its own way. Taoiseach Leo Varadkar also paid tribute, saying her music was loved around the world and her talent was unmatched and beyond compare. Condolences to her family, her friends, and all who loved her music, he said. Yes, an incredible voice, an incredible artist, and we'll hear more tributes to Sinead O'Connor later on in the show. And as I say, if you yourself have a memory or a comment that you wish to share, please do. But when you think of it, between Sinead, Dolores O'Riordan, both lost recently, two incredibly powerful women, but two Irish women that were international, worldwide stars. And for us to produce them, such a small country, really is quite remarkable. Very sadly, both of them have now passed on to their eternal rewards. The Irish Times this morning, children in psychiatric distress will continue to be lost and disappeared without urgent legislation to regulate the Health Service Executive's youth mental health services. The chair of the Mental Health Commission has warned. Consultant psychiatrist Dr. John Hillary made the comment yesterday at the publication of a blistering report which found the HSE's Child and Mental Health Services, CAMS, is creaking at the seams with increasing risk to children for whom the service is provided. This story is not unrelated to the last story as well. Particularly with the passing of Sinead O'Connor's son last year. The service is led with poor governance, characterised by failure to manage risk, failure to fund and recruit key staff, failure to look at alternative models of providing services, and the failure to provide a standardised service, said Dr. Susan Finnerty, Chief Mental Health Inspector. Now, me personally, I'm not incredibly well resourced, and I would welcome any sort of break in the budget tax-wise. You would, wouldn't you? But I'll tell you what I would welcome is if that money instead was spent on having proper mental health services for young people and for adults as well. That would really get me excited. That might get me out to the polling booths if I thought that we were taking issues like that really seriously and throwing money at it in a very organised and checked manner so that we could actually start seeing results delivered. That would do me. It's a big story, this one. Rank and file Garda to vote on a motion of no confidence in the Garda Commissioner over various crises hitting the force. This is the Mail. In a statement last night, the Garda Representative Association said it took the step as it felt Commissioner Drew Harris has failed to address a number of issues, including the current recruitment and retention of officers. Now, if this were to go and it were to pass, it would leave Drew Harris in a very difficult position. Now, of course, this has been because of the developing story overnight. This has sort of been retired to, page deep into the paper effectively. But this, I believe this to be incredibly significant. A special meeting of the GRA Central Executive Committee was convened yesterday, and it was agreed to ballot the GRA membership on a vote of no confidence. I'm not sure if we're covering that, Caroline. Are we covering that? We are indeed, of course. She covers everything, Caroline. She says, what do you think we should do? I say, well, should we do that? Done. Should we do this? That's done. What about that? Oh, it's already on the programme, so I don't even bother anymore. Oh, and that's the importance of Caroline's role on the programme. The Irish Farmers Journal this morning, TB reactor numbers surged by 37% in the first 6 months of 2023, and a growing number of herds are subject to disease restrictions. Department of Agriculture figures show that 11,417 reactors were identified up to 2nd of July this year, 3,073 more than the first 6 months of 2022. On to the red top tabloids now, and actor Kevin Spacey has said he was humbled by the jury's decision to clear him of 9 sex offences. This is the Irish Daily Star. The Hollywood star cut a tearful figure in the docket Southwark Crown Court on his birthday yesterday as the jury delivered the not guilty verdict. Spacey was accused of sexually assaulting 4 men over the period between 2001 and 2013, accusations he described as madness. Speaking on the court steps after the verdict, the 64-year-old said, "I would like to say that I'm enormously grateful to the jury for having taken the time to examine all of the evidence and all of the facts carefully before they reached the decision." Now, to all intents and purposes, if you're on social media, you would have been of the view, and you may well still be of the view, that he was guilty as they come, because that's just the way it is now, trial by social media. But as it turns out, he stood before his peers, 12 of them, 10 thought he was innocent, and out he goes. Right, I don't know enough about it to know the ins and outs of it. The Irish Sun this morning, Kate McCabe told Ireland fans, "We gave it everything. The girls in green will depart the World Cup next week after their exit was confirmed with yesterday's defeat to Canada following the opening night loss to Australia." And I think there's an awful lot to be positive about. And I know it's kind of like people go, well, what's there to be positive about? Well, listen, we qualified for our first World Cup ever. And I thought in both games at times, Ireland were fantastic. You have to understand, it's like all sports, there's ranks. So if you get someone who's a rank 30 boxer against the number 1 in the world, you don't expect them to be leading the fight halfway through. I'm not saying Canada were ranked number 1 in the world as such. I don't know exactly where they are ranked. That's being honest. But Ireland were great. They were fantastic on their front foot. Then that goal went in, and then things began to unravel somewhat. But I think we should all be... Sorry, I can't speak for anyone else. I'm very proud of what they achieved. And hopefully now they will build on that, and we'll see more young girls and boys for the men's team going out to training and... saying, look, I want to go to a World Cup into the future. And finally, in the Irish Daily Mirror, the number of TV licence fees sold in the third week of July plummeted by 37%, new figures have shown. So you're not wobbling, you're not happy, and you're still not paying your TV licence. It brings the total loss for RTE this month alone to 1.86 million. It follows weeks of sustained decreases in the number of people paying the €160 fee in the wake of the financial crisis at the national broadcaster. Figures previously provided by the Department of Media showed that the licence fee sales had fallen for the first time for the first 2 weeks of this month. New figures show the figures have now plummeted even further. There you go. You're not forgetting, are you? Okay. Rightio. Let us take a break and we'll be back with our first guest in just a couple of moments.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the 2022 C-Store National Off-Licence of the Year. Harkins have been providing customers with quality fireplaces, stoves and electric fires for over 30 years. And now you can experience the elegance of luxurious worktop from Harkins. Their experienced craftsmen can fabricate marble, quartz or granite worktops to your specification. So, if you're planning a new kitchen or bathroom or upgrading your existing one, Harkin Fireplaces can provide a quote for your quartz, marble or granite worktop. Visit their showroom in Ballybogan, Lifford or call 9141109 or visit them online at harkinfireplaces.ie.
Backed by popular demand, the Murder Express arrives at Oakfield Park this August. The year is 1891 and the Borlotti Brothers Carnival is on tour across Europe. The next stop is Oakfield, 20 years on from the last visit. But there's missing jewels, mistaken identity and of course a brutal killing. Enjoy a theatrical dining experience, a train ride and immersive theatre where you get to interrogate key suspects in a bid to uncover the truth. Followed by a delicious banquet with wine, a full bar and music. Book a place now on the 11th or 12th of August for the Murder Express at oakfieldpark.com.
At Centra, shop smart and feel good with great offers this week. Like Centra Fresh Hour Chicken Fillet 680 gram, only $7.50. Dr. Ucker Ristorante Pizza Selected Range, now €2 each. And Screaming Devil Côte de Provence Rosé, only €12. Centra. Live every day. Enjoy alcohol sensibly.
Enhance your skills with SafeTech's part-funded training programs. At SafeTech, we provide courses including first aid, roadworks, people moving and handling, confined spaces, electrofusion and machinery training for Ireland and UK sites. Also online programs such as water hygiene, construction supervisors, safety reps and much more. If you have a group for training, SafeTech will go to you. Contact SafeTech today at safetech.ie and take the first step towards upskilling and safety compliance.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
The time is 23 minutes past 9 and you're very welcome back to the programme. Now, for the next wee while, we're going to be speaking to Karen Harkin about her experience, which involves tough conversation that might not be for everybody. So just to be warned in relation to that. And it's off the back of news this week that a Donegal man who raped and sexually abused his young daughter a decade ago has been jailed for 10.5 years. 55-year-old Michael Carter was found guilty last month following a trial at the Central Criminal Court of 1 count of rape, 25 sample counts of sexual assault between June 2010 and June 2014 when his daughter Karen Harkin was aged between 9 and 12 years old. The court was previously told that Carter of Kinnago in Buncrana, County Donegal, does not accept the verdict of the jury and maintains his innocence. That's a rental address, by the way. Ms. Harkin, who's now 22 and who is in front of me, waived her anonymity so her father can be named. Karen, thanks very much for calling in and chatting to us. How are you keeping, I suppose, first, is my first question. Are you okay?
I'm doing good, yeah. I think I'm just getting by at the minute, but I feel a bit of relief now that it's actually all over me and that I can finally start to move on in a way.
How important was it for you, for this person to be identified, for you to be able to have your voice in this in this whole process post the awful abuse you endured?
I think it was very important because for so long I internalised the feelings of guilt and shame because he was my father. I thought it was my fault. So to be honest, it was very important for me to be able to even speak out, because even for not that long before the court, I was kind of in two minds. I was just so nervous. I was like, felt like people were going to be like, oh no, it's definitely her fault. It's like, because I always went back to visit him, but at the end of the day, he was my father, so I didn't know any different than to keep going back. And
well, you were a young girl.
Yeah, I was
thinking you were doing the right thing, what the right thing is to do, what you're supposed to do.
Definitely, yeah. I think it was just because he was my father at the end of the day, I just felt like if I didn't go see him that I would be leaving him alone, because at the time my parents were separated and me and my siblings lived with my mother. So I think I even felt guilt at that time for not going to see him all the time. So I think it was just normal for me.
It must have been a great deal of pressure for you through your teenage years. The guilt you felt of feeling you must visit him, what everyone else in the family might think, that it might blow the family apart as much as, obviously your parents were separated already. Did you carry that as well with you? Were you saying, will people believe me? Will they blame me? Not just the public or people that might find out, but the people closest to you.
Definitely, yeah. I think I was just so scared. I thought that my own family, even my mother and my brothers and sisters, I thought that they would blame me, and I was just so scared to tell them because I couldn't, being of that age and being of just innocence, I suppose, I just couldn't understand how it couldn't be my fault, because in a way I felt like I played a part because I always went back and visited him. I always stayed over. So for years, them feelings kind of crippled me in a way because I could never release myself from those feelings of guilt or those feelings of shame. And it hasn't been until recently that I've been able to kind of come to terms with them and realise that it wasn't my fault.
Yeah. And do you have those feelings from you gone? I mean, when we endure emotions for a long period of time, it can take a long time for them to lift there. There can be like almost like a half-life. So whilst you say, it's helping you release you from those feelings of guilt, is that an ongoing process that you're working through even as a 22-year-old?
Definitely, yeah.
Because this is not a light switch, is it? Everything's not fixed all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's not like I just wake up after court and be like, okay, that's me fixed. I'm no longer feel the way I felt, but it's like it definitely is an ongoing process. I know it might take me even years to fully release and those feelings of guilt, and I might not even release them, but it has just kind of made me let go of some of them.
Yeah, and I think you can work through them in a different way now.
Definitely, yeah. I definitely can. I feel like before, even when I was trying, like my family were trying to help me work through them, and I was listening to them, but I wasn't taking in anything that they were saying. And I think now, just realising how wrong it was and how many people have shown so much support to me and have told me that it couldn't in no way be my fault. And I think that it definitely just helps to have others, like family, friends, and literally anyone out there who can understand. Yeah,
well, I mean, for what it's worth, as a parent, I feel our only significant job really is to care for our children, to make sure they're safe, to deal with whatever moods that they may have or the little tantrums that they might throw, and to guide them as best we can through their education and life. I mean, sometimes we fail, but we try.
Yeah.
And for anyone, no one could ever believe that it could ever be your fault. You were failed. You know what I mean? It's never, ever, there's not one iota of responsibility that you bear for that. It was another person that completely failed in their responsibility and even went beyond failing. And I'm hoping, I'm sure you will in time fully realise that if you don't already. Up until the age of 9, and I only want you to speak about what you're comfortable about speaking about, and also what you think is helpful in speaking to other people, because I know you're doing this for reasons which we'll talk about a little later on, but to help other people. Up until the age of 9, was everything relatively normal?
Definitely, yeah. I just lived a normal childhood. There was nothing out of the ordinary, to be honest. I did just normal things any child would do, and I think that's why it kind of made it hard, because it just changed in a way, and part of me couldn't understand it, because it was so normal before that even when it had started, I still kind of thought, okay, this might be normal, like it could be normal. So
did you understand what was happening?
At the very beginning, I didn't have a clue, to be honest, what was going on. I think just at that age, I was so innocent, and I didn't know anything regarding abuse or sexual intercourse or anything at all. So it was so confusing, because even if, like, people have said to me, oh, like, there's so much things out there, like, you could have heard or something, but I didn't even know what it was to be able to identify what was happening. So it was kind of like confusing in a way, because sometimes, like, I would feel, I think as I got a bit older and it was happening, and I realised that this happens no matter what. Like, if I want it to happen or not, or if I'm reluctant or not, that it's going to happen no matter what. So I think that made me realise, not fully, but it made me realise in a way that this can't be right. Like, it can't.
Would it have helped? And I don't think looking back at things as if things were different ever helps. But if you had been given some sort of a basic understanding of these things at school, do you think it would have helped for you to sort of go, right, well, this isn't wrong, or this is wrong? Sorry.
I don't know, to be honest. I feel like maybe at that age I probably still wouldn't have fully
understood. And I think it's in the context of what should be a loving and caring relationship, isn't it? And that's where it becomes, even if you were told, like, you know. Definitely,
because even when I was older and I did understand, I still was like, still didn't think it was his fault. I still thought it was my fault. So I don't know, to be honest, if I would have even understood at that age.
And it continued for 3 years.
It continued from when I was 9 till I was around 12, so 4 years or so, maybe.
Of course, yeah. Sorry, inclusive. Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
For everything you've been through, Karen. And at what stage did it become clear to you that this was wrong? I mean, obviously you knew it was wrong, but you talked of sort of the confusion as to, is it normal or is it not normal? Was there a point then where you said, obviously I realise now fully that what's happening here is really...
I think it was only in my later teen years that I really realised, to be honest, because I still kept a secret from when I was 9 until I was in my later teens, and I think I didn't begin to realise until then that it was wrong. And
is it clear what made it stop at 12?
It's not, no, it's just, people have asked me and I just couldn't explain it. It was, all I remember is that he moved house whenever I was 12 years old, and whenever he moved into that new house, it never happened again, and it still was in the back of my mind because I still visited him, so I still was as if I was waiting for it to happen, but it just never did after that.
Right. So then what was, because you're clever, you're very academic, aren't you? So how then did you continue through your teens with what you went through, still working out what actually happened? As you say, you were later in your teens when you realised exactly what was happening and why it was wrong. Like, how was life then, you know, from 13, 14, 15 and 16? Now, obviously, it was a sort of a fake reality, and that's clear now, so I'm fully aware of that, by the way. But what was it relatively normal, or how were you affected?
I think for a while it was probably relatively normal, because I kind of just buried those feelings until I was in my later teens, until I actually spoke out about it. So I think I did live quite a normal life, but it was kind of like I was suffering in silence, because I felt like I couldn't tell anyone, and I couldn't.
And the longer it went, did it become more difficult then?
The longer it went, yeah, it did become more difficult, because even when I was in my early teens in school, all my friends were just so much more outgoing and so much more like they were in relationships from a young age, and I just couldn't imagine myself in any sort of relationship. I couldn't imagine myself even sometimes going out at night. I kept myself very isolated from going out life, kind of, and I kept myself very isolated from like meeting up with my friends, because I was so scared that they could find out and that maybe they would stop talking to me, or that they would just hate me in a way.
Yeah.
So
because this was still this feeling, and it all comes back to you feeling there's some sense of responsibility, which is just an awful cross for you to bear through those years that you should have just been enjoying every minute of life. What happened then? That at what stage of your life then did you say, right, I have to speak out here? Or what happened there? Was it a particular conversation or a particular thing that happened to you in your life?
Yeah, so it was one evening I was in my auntie's house, and there was something on the news about, I think if you remember, it was like about the priests and how they had abused altar boys and girls. And I think it was on the news at the time, and I think whenever I heard it, I just became so overwhelmed and so emotional, and I began to cry. And then she asked me if everything was okay, and then at that point I just said it then. And I think it was even strange for me to say it then, because I was holding myself back from saying it for so long. And like, I feel like there was instances before where I could have said it, but I was just like, no, like, this is my fault. I don't want people to know how like shameful my life is in a way.
Okay. And what was the reaction?
I think it was just utter shock, and she just began like asking me questions of what had happened. And
because she would have gone into, well, I don't know your aunt, but I think a lot of us would go into panic mode. So tell us, what do you mean? How did that, you know, because we're not really equipped to deal with that, because that was a huge thing for her to sort of hear, as well as you, a huge thing for you to sort of relieve yourself of as well.
To be honest, I think she was quite calm in a way, because I was starting to panic. So I think maybe she realised that
one of us is going to
one of us needs to take the reins. So I think she was quite calm in a way, and she kind of helped me, but she just reassured me that it wasn't my fault and that I was doing the right thing by speaking out.
Was there, in that moment, was there an instant slight relief? In other words, you know what I mean? Was it like, wow, someone's heard what I've carried and they've reassured me that it's not my fault? That must have been an amazing moment in this whole thing.
Definitely, yeah. I think I probably will never feel relief like it, because for something that I have only said in my head for so many years, my entire life basically, and to finally say it out loud, it was surreal in a way. It was just crazy.
Yeah, but then of course now it's out there. So then it's other members of the family. So how did that progress then? That like, at what point did you tell the rest of the family, or how long did you wait to go to the Garda, or how did you decide to go to the Garda?
I didn't really know what happens after I spoke out, to be honest. And I think it was my family who kind of guided me and said, like, this is what you can do, or like, but only do it if you feel comfortable. So to be honest, I don't remember how long after it was that I went to the guards, but I think it was a terrifying experience. How
was that experience? How did you find the initial interactions with the Gardaí? Because we're talking, it's not a historical case, but it's going back a number of years, and it's probably going to come down to your word against another person's word, right? Yeah. So how was that whole conversation that you had with them?
So it kind of did come down, like, it felt like it came down to my father's word against my word, to be honest. But I didn't know what to expect going in there, but I remember just the first day that I went in there, they were just so supportive, and it was crazy in a way, because they didn't even doubt me in any way. They just listened to what I had to say and took my life story on board, basically, and they showed me a huge amount of support throughout, since then, and throughout the whole process, to be honest. So I wouldn't go back and change the fact that I did speak out about it and that I did go to the guards. Yeah.
He denied it at the time, continues to deny it now. So that meant obviously there was going to be a trial, and you were going to have to give evidence of that trial. Again, there's nothing in life to prepare us for having to do that, because whatever way, as difficult as it was over those years before you actually spoke to your auntie and then to the rest of the family, that was in private.
Yeah.
This was a public space, really. Your father would have been there when you were given evidence.
Yeah, it was.
Which is incredibly difficult for you. How long were you in giving evidence for?
So the trial lasted about maybe, I think, 8 days. And I think it wasn't until maybe the second day that I actually gave evidence. But I remember before I went in when I stepped into the actual court building, I was like, oh, this is fine, like, I'll be okay, like, this isn't a big deal. And then I remember as I just stepped foot in the courtroom, just an overwhelming sense of fear. And I felt like I began to shake in a way, and I couldn't even eat. Like, I felt like I was going to get sick, or I couldn't even stand. It was something I'll never be able. It all came down to that, didn't it? Definitely, yeah. It literally just came down to the last minute of
because we can't forget either what you've been through, but that you're 22. You know what I mean? And as you go through life, and people can be very mature at 22. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that, but just. You learn little things as you go through life, and that's all ahead of you, thank God. But I think it's a huge thing for someone of your age and what you've been through to have to do in the search for justice. But then to recount it, I suppose, and I mean, we're certainly not going to do that now. Well, I imagine that must be very difficult. Was cross-examination difficult?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, just even I found going up there, and when I was talking to my own barrister and he was guiding me through my story, I think even that was difficult because, to be honest, it has only been my family and the Garda and that I have really spoke to about, and like close friends. But I think when I was sitting up there and realising that there is, first of all, 12 complete strangers on the jury who are listening to my story, and then the judge herself and other people, other Gardaí there, and it was just terrifying in a way. And then the fact that he was there, as my father was there as well, kind of made it emotionally daunting in a way, because I knew that he was in denial. So it kind of was just so scary, because I was like, my own father is sitting there listening to me, and he either doesn't believe it or doesn't want to admit it. So.
And then also, he mustn't care at all, because if he cared, he wouldn't put through this.
Yeah, definitely. It just felt like I was.
This is not a stranger. This is
my father. Yeah, somebody who was.
You thought, right, now's the time.
It's somebody who was supposed to love me, like who was supposed to care for me all those years ago.
And did you think? What is your view on him denying it even now?
To be honest, I think. I don't know really what I think. I think it still kind of hurts. Well, obviously it hurts in a way, because I'm like, my own father is making me out to be a liar in a way, and it's as if I am no one to him. But I don't know if it would make it any easier if he did admit to it, because I think it would kind of upset me possibly even more. I know it might be hard to understand, but I think possibly more it would upset me, because I would be like, okay, he's actually taking accountability for his actions. But even if he never admits it, I think it will never take away from the fact that it happened and that it changed
really,
my life.
how you don't even know how you might feel if you did.
Definitely
so we just simply don't know. But I mean, obviously there was your loss of innocence and much of your life, the way you should have been living it, taken away from you. But also, it's the loss of a parent, but a parent that's not dead. How do you process that, or do you, or what's your feelings?
I think
because you do reference him as your father. I mean, that's what seems natural to come off the tip of your tongue, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, he definitely is my father.
Yeah,
still will always be my father. I will never not see him as my father, to be honest. And I think that's what I found so hard growing up, because I just was like, if I tell, then I don't know what's going to happen. And even if I go through with this court process, in a way I'm losing my father. And even though I kind of lost him all those years ago when he started to abuse me, that I think part of my inner child held out hope to still have a relationship with him and to still kind of do all those normal things that other people would do. But I just knew that it wasn't right, and it
in your impact statement, and maybe taking this a little bit out of context, but you says, I shouldn't have to live my life feeling sorry for him. Has this process relieved you of the sympathy, or do you still feel sorry for him?
It has relieved me of some sympathy for him, but I definitely still do feel some sense of sorrow for him, because even on the last day when they were calling out the sentence and he was standing there, and I think in a way I became so overwhelmed, I became so sad, because it was kind of like the final stepping stone for me to realise that he is going away and he has been punished for what he did. And even though I know it is right, and I know it is so right not just for me but for so many other people out there, it still is hard. And I don't know, I think sometimes my family may find it hard to understand why I feel sorry for him, and why my heart kind of breaks in a way that I'm sending him away. But it's just something that is so hard to explain, I think.
Yeah, of course. And no one could understand it other than those that maybe have gone through something similar.
Yeah.
The sentence, 10.5 years effectively, do you have an opinion on that?
To be honest, I think I went in there not looking for a specific outcome. I think I just wanted my story to be out there, and I wanted basically him just to be recognised for what he did, because I feel like he has had such a good name, or that I feel like everybody loved him and everybody thought so well of him, and so I don't think, no matter how long it would have been, that I would have been either happy or sad.
You don't get any satisfaction from it, effectively.
No, I don't.
Okay, it's not relevant.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you stood in the court and delivered your victim impact statement and your evidence as 22-year-old Karen, but in a way, were you know how sometimes they say, what would you tell your 9-year-old self or your 5-year-old self or whatever? Was that also sort of 9-year-old Karen standing up there? Were you speaking on behalf of your 9-year-old self?
Definitely, yeah. I think because I felt like I had no voice back then, that I couldn't speak, and that I was just so scared. So standing up there as my 9-year-old self, I'd say in a way I did, and it just made me so proud of myself, and it made me realise that I was doing the right thing, because even though I'm speaking about the abuse, it is me speaking about my past self and my younger self. So definitely to be able to stand up for my 9-year-old self was a big thing for me.
Yeah, I hope you're proud of yourself, are you?
I definitely am, in a way. Okay. I know it might sound...
No, it's not. It doesn't sound anything at all. That's why I wanted to say it first. Now, the way that the system works is if you hadn't waived your anonymity, he would have still been charged, still gone to prison. People maybe in the local area who would have known, right? But your experience would have been different. No one would know it happened. Yeah. Okay, so you still would be there. You're not going to go into every place saying, "Look, this is what." Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So. You have to waive your anonymity then in order to name your abuser. And what do you hope that does for other people? And I think it's only other people that it's relevant to. For some people, everyone has to deal with things differently, don't they, Karen? But there are going to be people that were like you that are just waiting for one thing to sort of get justice for themselves. Yeah. And I suppose it's they that you're sort of, for others, they'll deal with it in a completely different way. It is for them that you're hoping to give courage to speak out or support maybe actually, because they're full of courage having to endure what they've endured, but to give them the support to speak out if it suits them.
Definitely, yeah. I think it was very important for me to be able to waive my anonymity, because I think for victims it's so scary and it's so hard for us to understand why we should speak about it and why we're not at fault. So I really hope in a way that it will, for anyone listening out there, that they can realise that they're not alone, that they're not at fault. No matter how many times you go over it in your head, there is no rational explanation that can make it your fault, because no matter what age you are, you can't be at fault. So I really hope in a way that this helps them to realise that they can speak out, and not even just give them the courage, but just give them the hope that their life can change and that they won't always be stuck in that cycle of abuse.
Because you can be stuck in the cycle of abuse even once the abuse has stopped.
Yeah, definitely. You can be stuck in it for so long. You can just kind of trap yourself in it, I think, to be honest.
Well, what about your life for the future now? You are hoping to go on to third level now, or have you begun that process?
I haven't begun it yet, no, but I will apply in whenever CAO.
Do you know what you want to do?
I want to do secondary school teaching, I hope. Spanish and Irish, hopefully, if it all works out. So I am looking forward to that. And I feel like I have held back from that for so many years because I didn't want to go on to college with this hanging over me, to be honest. And
your understanding of the experience because of you going through it, but also the way you can sort of analyse it and you know, the inner voices and you articulate it so well. Would part of you also maybe want to be able to work in that area to sort of, you know, help others who've gone through it? Because, as I say, the way you can articulate what you've been through, you know, it's very useful. It's a skill if you know what I mean.
Definitely, yeah. I think from even when I was younger, like, I remember my family used to say, like, I can no longer say the word I don't know because no matter what they asked me, my only response was, I don't know. So from a younger age until now, the difference that I can see in myself, there is no way that I wouldn't want to help other people and help them find their voice in a way and help them to understand how they're actually feeling, because sometimes I didn't even understand. Like, I was like, this is what I'm thinking, but I don't know how I'm actually feeling. So I definitely would like to help other people. Yeah,
and you have to fully work through where you're at and where you're going to. The time has to be right for that, doesn't it? Because I would imagine, you know, you have used your platform to speak out, and you've spoken to various outlets and what have you, but that'll die down to some extent. And I suppose it's really then when you'll be able to sit down and start processing what's happened over the course of the, you know, the conviction, the trial and what have you, really, because you've been very busy the last little while.
Definitely, yeah. I think even a few people have mentioned to me, like, it's a very, like, hectic kind of time at the minute, and I think
But now's the time you have to get the message out.
Definitely, you know, I think I need to just go with it, and part of me feels like I'm a bystander in a way, if that makes sense. Like, I'm watching myself speak out and I'm watching myself.
It's like imposter syndrome or something, is it?
Definitely,
yeah. Okay, I get you. But that'll all make sense over time as well. Do you think you'll ever have a relationship with your father again?
To be honest, I don't think so. I think that I deserve it. I deserve for my 9-year-old self not to put myself through.
Yeah,
something
it's
like
not
that.
about what you'd want. I mean, thankfully you've seen it now that it would never be because you feel sorry for him or what he might want. But yeah, definitely okay. We have, as you can imagine, I'm not going to keep you much longer, Karen.
That's okay.
Loads and loads of people texting in support of you, praising you, your bravery, how you've spoken out, the sacrifices you've made to sort of support others who've been going through it. And if there's people listening and they're at that point in their life whereby they go, right, okay, I can do this too. Your experience has been with the process is not something you discourage people from going through. It's tough. You know, that walking into the courtroom as you described, you know, it's like, well, okay, but it's manageable. You can come through the other end and you can get justice for yourself.
Definitely, yeah. It is definitely an emotionally daunting experience. I'm not going to say it's easy, like, it's in no way easy, and it's kind of, sometimes I feel like it could have broken me, but I just want to reassure people that you will have so much support along the way, and that you will never be alone, and that I know, like, for so long, I remember going, when I was in the process of reporting it to the Garda, there was so many times that I was like, oh no, I'm not doing this, and I'm taking it back, but I just had to sit with it and realise that, okay, this is going to be okay. And even after going through the process and even having my father kind of, he was like sitting behind me in like the area that he was sitting, I think that I just felt like I wasn't alone and that I felt that I could do it. So I would definitely encourage people.
Here's the one. I'm not putting you on the spot because I think you're well able to answer this one, and it might help this person. As a mother of a child abused, I'm broken that I didn't see it, that my daughter couldn't come to me, that I failed her. How would Karen respond to a parent who feels such an utter failure? So this is the mother who themselves now is taking the blame and the guilt, and that's heartbreaking, isn't it? They're having to live with something there.
It definitely is heartbreaking.
What's your insight and what are your words to that, Mum?
I think that you should just reassure yourself that it's not something that you can ever imagine that is going to happen to your child, and no matter how hard you try and how supportive of a mother you are, it's so hard to miss these things.
So easy to miss them.
Or so easy to miss them, sorry. So easy to miss them. And I remember even from when I was a child and my mother was there, it's not that you don't feel like she's there to support you, it's just that you feel so fear of anyone, of telling anyone. And I think it was just so scary. So in a way, I don't think that any parent, mother or father, if it's the opposite way, a boys in my case, that they should feel any sense of guilt or any sense of responsibility, because it's not their fault, it's the abuser's fault. So I think that in a way that mom needs to give herself a break. She definitely does. Yeah,
give yourself a break, Mom. It's not your fault.
And
you've heard it from Karen, who's got an amazing insight into this, and who herself was able to conceal this from people for her own reasons, and it was when the time was right. So just please give yourself a break, Mum, because she's torturing herself with that. I can see it in the words. It's like only black on white, but
imprisoning herself in the feelings of
Karen. Thanks so much for coming in to us and talking at this time. I wish you, I just wish you all the happiness and success and whatever you want in life. And working through it all too to get into the space that you want to be in. It's still a journey that you're still on. But we, as I say, everyone's texting in and calling in, supporting you, and we just wish nothing but good things for you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
An apple a day keeps the doctor away. Yes, but a Joy apple keeps the sadness away. Crunchy, juicy with a hint of acidity. Get some Joya in your favourite store. Eat Joya, taste the joy. And with the Joya contest, you can win an electric car.
Balderdash, poppycock, porcupines, whispers, untruths, fake news, or as the kids say, cap. Seeds have been planted that Skoda has no stock. Let's put the rumours to bed. At Skoda we have Scala, Superb, Octavia and the fully electric Enyaq, all in stock, ready for immediate delivery and to drive home today. Visit skoda.ie to see for yourself. Skoda. Let's explore.
Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clar Road, Donegal Town. Call 074 9721
Planning on renovating your garden this summer? Then look no further than Daleside Garden Furniture. With a full range of sizes and garden sheds, wooden and steel, summer houses, playhouses, outdoor canopies, fencing and much more. Find us on social media. Made to measure and one-off designs are our speciality. Call today on 087 112 4766.
Do you run a business in Donegal? Would you like to make it more energy efficient? Then check out the Energy Efficiency Grant from Local Enterprise Office Donegal. Replace your existing equipment with energy efficient solutions and help your business reduce its carbon footprint while saving on energy costs. If your business is eligible, you could receive 50% of the costs, up to a maximum grant of €5,000. Put all your energy into efficiency. Find out more at localenterprise.ie/Donegal.
Suckler farmers vent fury in Mayo. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Anger over suckler herd projections boils over at farmer meeting. Strict new fertiliser rules now in place. We've everything you need to know. We talked to the Mayo farmer hitting €6 a kilo for his organic cattle. Government to examine how much turf people burn in their homes. TB reactor numbers soar. And calls for Minister to deliver sheep supports before it's too late.
All inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal. On sale now.
I've just had the Eclipse Cinemas experience. Wow, they truly have taken a night at the movies to a whole new level. Amazing recliner chairs, director's lounge VIP rooms, pizza and hot food served to your seat. Have a glass of wine and enjoy the film on the big screen. Try it for yourself at Eclipse Cinemas Bundoran and Lifford Strabane, where the stars shine brighter. By the way, the pizzas are amazing. You can book your seat anytime at eclipsecinemas.ie.
With 232 underway, it's not too late to secure your new Nissan. With the all-electric Leaf, the petrol and hybrid Duke, the new X-Trail available in a 5 or 7-seater 4-wheel drive e-Power hybrid, and the Nissan Qashqai petrol and e-Power hybrid, all available for immediate delivery. Visit iMotors in Letterkenny to find out more. Open 6 days a week.
Leisureland Redcastle, open every day from 12 till 5:30 p.m. Fantastic for family day trips. Excellent value for birthday party packages. For a wonderful family experience, check out leisurelandredcastle.ie.
An bhfuil gnógacht a talonithe in Inanal ar bhaileat go mai sé éfectúil ó híobh fuinneamh dé, caisúil ar an scéim éfectúlacht fuinneamh a teir cur foiil ag an ofic fiontar éitiúil in Inanal. Foiil agus úsáid trealamh a tísar fuinneamh agus gendo nó spragu lena lór carbon ar an timpalacht de léadú le cás costais unnimh a íslu. Ma chailíonn do gnód an scéim, hiag deontas éagsla a bhaint má. Ó deontas a chlúdaíonn 50 den hasta somlan go deontas ar Westmaid de €2,000. Is í an éfectúlacht de sactaí. Hiag teiliúla se eil ag localenterprise.ie/Hantasi Donegal.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. A Donegal rape victim told this morning's 9 till noon show that she's hopeful her decision to waive her anonymity will help others speak out. 22-year-old Karen Harkin's father, 55-year-old Michael Carter of Ballamagan-Buncrana, was jailed for 10.5 years yesterday for raping and sexually assaulting her over a 4-year period. The abuse started when she was 9 years old and stopped when she was 12. Karen says speaking out has helped release her from a feeling of guilt, and she told Greg Hughes that waiving her anonymity has helped her to move on.
I think it was very important for me to be able to waive my anonymity because I think for victims it's so scary and it's so hard for us to understand why we should speak about it and why we're not at fault. So I really hope in a way that it will, for anyone listening out there, that they can realise that they're not alone. They're not at fault. No matter how many times you go over it in your head, there is no rational explanation that can make it your fault.
The Mica Action Group is urging Housing Minister Darragh O'Brien to attend a public meeting of affected homeowners to outline how he believes the recently published Enhanced Effective Concrete Block scheme will work. The group says Department of Housing officials say the vast majority of those affected will receive 100% redress, but this is at odds with what homeowners working through the practicalities of the scheme are finding. With more, here's Tara Duggan.
The Mica Action Group says the gap between the department's claim and the experience of homeowners is very wide indeed. Therefore, they say they're asking the Minister and officials responsible for the design of the scheme to come back to Donegal to explain to impacted homeowners how they see it working with facts, figures and examples to back up their statements. They also want Minister Darragh O'Brien to genuinely listen and take on board the concerns of the affected homeowners. In a letter sent to the Minister, they say they've been inundated with requests for support in the interpretation of the legislation and its practical application to homeowners' situations. In the absence of meaningful clarification and guidance from the government, they say homeowner representatives are once more in a situation where they're attempting to afford the support and leadership that the Minister and his colleagues have failed to deliver.
An Irish MEP is proposing the establishment of an EU one-stop shop in Belfast, together with the appointment of an EU economic envoy to Northern Ireland. Sean Kelly says under the Windsor framework, Northern Ireland enjoys access to both the EU and UK internal markets. That, he says, puts the North in a unique position post-Brexit, where it can become a gateway to two of the world's largest markets. And he says harnessing this potential could bring significant economic benefits to the region. Sean Kelly also believes this would have positive benefits for border counties by strengthening cross-border initiatives such as the Northwest City region.
Yes, and those cross-border links need to grow, not diminish. And I think by having definite places like one-stop shops and people like the envoy available working on these situations and helping those on the ground to develop it will absolutely make life better for people, make them avail of the opportunities that are going to be there, and above all help them to feel no longer isolated.
Bank of Ireland is warning about an increase in the number of scams in circulation involving impersonating members of families. It's recorded a 25% increase in the number of cases involving hi mum or hi dad texts in the month of July. The bank believes the messages, which claim to be from a relative abroad in need of money, were timed to coincide with the holiday season when many people are away. Bank of Ireland is warning customers never to trust text messages and to always stop, think and check before responding. And concerns have been raised regarding the state of crash barriers in Donegal. Speaking at a council meeting earlier this week, Councillor Noel Jordan said they must be prioritised as a matter of safety. He added one particular barrier in Mount Charles, which was erected following 2 fatalities, has been badly eroded by salt water. Councillor Jordan says barriers should be regularly inspected and repairs carried out as soon as needed. He says lack of funding cannot be an excuse for delays.
We've been told that the funding package is not in place. It takes a specialised crew to maintain these, and it's substantial money. But money should be forgotten about in this because it's about saving people's lives. There's no point in putting up crash barriers and just left there to rot or to be damaged. In some cases as well, that that there's no protection on that when they're in that state.
Weather forecast and Met Éireann tell us it'll be mostly cloudy with patchy light rain, drizzle and mist today, brightening up somewhat during the afternoon and evening with some sunny intervals developing. There will, however, be some scattered showers as well. Top temperatures today of 16 or 17 degrees Celsius in a light to moderate westerly wind. And that's Highland Radio News. Back with more at 11 o'clock. Until then, from the news team, good morning. The obituary notices for this Thursday morning, the 27th of July. The death has taken place of John Kelly, Lishean, Greencastle. John's remains will leave Liam Collins' funeral premises, Station Road, Carndonagh, this afternoon at 2 o'clock, going to his home. Family time, please, from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. John's Requiem Mass will take place on Saturday morning at 11 in St Mary's Church, Ballybrack, followed by cremation at Lakelands Crematorium, Cavan. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Noel Kelly, Pluck Letterkenny, formerly of Ballycarbery, Cahersiveen, County Kerry. Noel's remains will repose at his late residence from 6 o'clock until 10 o'clock this evening and again tomorrow from 12 noon until 10 o'clock with Rosary nightly at 9. Funeral from there on Saturday morning at 10:15, going to the Church of the Irish Martyrs, Letterkenny, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, which can be viewed live on the parish's YouTube channel. Interment afterwards in St Columba's Church Cemetery, Dromahal. Family time, please, on the morning of the funeral. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Palliative Care, Donegal Hospice, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Cyril Morgan, 55, Burwood, Buncrana, and formerly of Gloucestershire, England. Funeral arrangements will be confirmed later. And the death has taken place of Bridie McLaughlin, St Joseph's Park, Buncrana. Her remains will repose at McLaughlin's funeral home, Buncrana, with viewing this afternoon from 2 p.m. until 4 p.m. and again from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. this evening. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 9:30, going to St Mary's Oratory for 10 o'clock Requiem Mass, with burial afterwards in the family plot in the old cemetery, Clonmany. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Buncrana Community Hospital Patients Comfort Fund, care of any family member. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Brian McCormick, Sports and Leisure, Main Street, Letterkenny. Looking for the triple black option. Vans Selden with a leather upper, only €60. Save €15. Adidas and Nike triple black trainers will have you ready for back to school. Kids footwear from Nike, Adidas, Asics and Vans in all sizes. Get the trainer that fits you best by using your safe size experience and get to know your feet. Brian McCormick, Sports and Leisure. Click on bmcsports.ie and get your free delivery.
At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, we are now operating out of one new state-of-the-art showroom in Donegal Town. And we invite you to visit our new 5,000 square foot Donegal Town showroom to discover the latest eye-catching designs. Remember, at Cherrymore, you're dealing directly with the manufacturer, which means high-quality kitchens at factory prices. Start planning your dream kitchen or bedroom by calling Cherrymore on 074 9725 822. Cherrymore, 25 years delivering value, quality and service all over Ireland.
Friday, July 28th, country music comes to Castle Derg at the Dergfest Music Festival Big Top with folk rock sensations The Logs, Johnny Brady, plus award-winning country artists the David James Band, Jamie Donnelly and Kenny Crawford. Tickets just $27.50. For details, see dergfest.co.uk. Sponsored by Great Mitchell Motors. Strictly over 18s.
Now is the time. Explore the current 232 offers at Connolly's Volkswagen, Letterkenny. Register your new Volkswagen before July 31st and avail of 0% finance on the fully electric ID4 and ID5. €1,500 booster on the T-Roc Life SUV or a €3,500 booster on your SEAI Grant for the fully electric E-Up. Inquire today with our team on 074 9122 333 or see Connolly's.ie for more information. Terms and conditions apply. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland Limited and is subject to lender criteria. Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
All right, so you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Thanks again to Karen for coming in and telling her story, and thank you to all of you who've reacted to it. What a lovely, brave girl. Best wishes, Karen, for a wonderful future. That comes in from Amy in Carndonagh. Morning, Greg. Well done, Karen, for speaking out about her father. I find it interesting to hear Karen say it wouldn't have helped her learning about things like this at school at an early age. Thank you. And rather than that getting into that conversation, and I get where you're coming from, and I think the way Karen described it was... I think the way Karen described it, it's important to just put into context in that even if she had been told... the fact that it was her father in a close relationship that seemed otherwise normal, that it still wouldn't have added up, if that makes sense. Incredible interview, so vulnerable and so strong. Karen is a beacon of hope for so many others. Well done, girl. All right, that comes in from Liam. Karen is very courageous and a brave girl. Well done to her for going public to help others that may be in a similar situation. I pray that she can now heal and get on with her young life in peace. That comes in from Mary. What a brave and courageous young lady, not only for standing up, but also for sharing her experience to help others. We must always believe children who claim abuse. We must always report and support, no matter what we think of the person being accused. Greg, I don't know Karen, but Karen, you're a brave lady to name and shame this monster who did that to you. Another well done, Karen. You're a credit to yourself. You will help so many survive. Greg, what a wonderful and strong young woman, sending her all the love in the world. And I hope Karen's listening in the car here. I know she knows that people support her, but just to hear the words of her fellow community, I hope it's important to her. As a girl in her position today, would she support the sex education in school at an early age is vital, as it would have helped her identify and have words to describe what was happening to her. I'm leaning in that. I've said it before, so but I have to be very careful. I don't want to in any way get involved in what's it might come down to a vote or something, but you know, when you hear someone talk of not knowing what was happening to them, it does make you think. Has Karen had a lot of therapy? She talks so strongly about the inner child and shame. She's a strong girl, such a strong girl. Another, I admire her so much. Can I ask, she still refers to him as her father. Does she still consider him a father? How does she deal with that now? And I think that was kind of answered in the latter part of that interview. That interview is going to be available to listen back to on our website, highlandradio.com, very shortly, and I'll stick the video up of it later on for those of you who missed it and want to rewatch. But with YouTube, you can rewind it at any point. Karen has come across as a very strong young girl. Hats off to her bravery. Let's see. I just want to make sure I stay on topic. It's such an important issue. Caller says she also went through abuse as a child and wanted to share her support for Karen. She says that as a child, you don't understand the impact of what's happening or that your innocence is being taken. From the caller's perspective, this does not happen until much later when you enter a relationship. Another caller says that Karen is amazing. She also suffered abuse at the hands of a family member, and in those days, there was no one to tell. Okay. Charlie, you did the right thing, Karen. You might have opened the floodgates for others with the same problem to come forward. God bless you. Right, thank you. Keep them coming into us. 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number. And I hope, as distressing those conversations are, I do hope that it's helped someone out there or some people out there. And I think that's obviously, well, I know that's Karen's motivation as well. Okay, our next guest also in studio. So you can watch that too on our website, highlandradio.com. Click watch live or on our YouTube or Facebook channels. We're going to take a quick break, then the bingo numbers are part of it, and then we'll be right back.
Apply online for learner permit and driving licence services, including renewals, updates, exchanges and replacements. It's easy and hassle-free. Visit NDLS online today at ndls.rsa.ie. Verified MyGov ID required. A message from the Road Safety Authority.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, July 27th, Jackpot Day. Today's jackpot is €19,200. Today's jackpot number is 33. You are playing on a pink coloured sheet. The reference number is S9. It's game number 30. The numbers are 25. The number 1. 14. The number 8. 67. 10, 20, 71, 57 and 49. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 p.m. tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book. Get all your NCBI Radio Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Get a great Clarence gift this week from McGee's Chemist in Letterkenny. Buy 2 Clarence skincare products, one to be moisturiser or serum, and you'll get a choice of 3 treat-sized essentials from a selection of 10. Which 3 will you choose? This great Clarence offer is available while stocks last, in-store at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny and online at mcgees.ie, where the best costs less. For any skincare advice, call in and talk to the resident skincare consultants, Mary or Gemma.
Time is ticking on the hottest sale of the year at Easy Living Furniture. The spectacular summer sale must end this Sunday. With absolutely everything reduced, unbeatable offers and 0% finance available, now is the perfect time to invest in comfort and style. Transform your home today. Our dedicated team are here to help. So visit Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park. The spectacular summer sale must end this Sunday.
Kelly's Diner in Letterkenny proudly introduced its newest member of the team, a family-friendly robotic waiter. It's the only one of its kind in the Northwest, there to help staff serve customers. And with a packed menu to pick from all week, from early to late, there's loads to do. If you'd like to see this robotic waiter in action, just pop into Kelly's award-winning diner today at Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Now, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show, and we have in studio with us Marie Dorian. Good morning to you, Marie. Thanks so much for calling up.
Hiya, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing good. Now, you can take them off if you're more comfortable. It's completely up to you, Marie. And if you could just scoot that way just a wee bit so I can hear you on the mic. Right. Now, Marie is founder of Rose and Rainbows Fertility and Miscarriage Support in Letterkenny. We were speaking to Marie previously. The phone line wasn't great, and now here we are. We can't blame telecommunications now. We have you in front of us. We'll talk about the announcement of the publicly funded IVF scheme in a moment. But first, let's talk about the Roses and Rainbows Infertility and Miscarriage Support Group in Letterkenny. When was this established?
Yeah, so I set it up in August 2019. We had been on the road of our infertility journey from about 2017, 2018, and then in August 2019, we ended up having a miscarriage from one of the transfers. So kind of looking around, I couldn't find any local kind of volunteering groups that kind of met up and had somewhere to chat to. So I developed that then.
Yeah, and how important is it? Everyone's different, but so for some people, how important is it to be able to speak with other people who understand exactly what they're going through? Because, and I've said it before in this programme, sometimes we're clumsy and put our foots in our mouths when we're trying to say the right thing to people. But if you can speak to other people that have a true understanding of it, I presume that's as well intended as the general public is.
Absolutely.
I presume that's more helpful.
And like within Roses and Rainbows, we have a Facebook page, then we have a private WhatsApp group, and then occasionally we do meetups. So there's something for everyone. Not everyone wants to meet face to face. Some people's family don't even know they're going through this. And just some people want to keep it private. So
is there a stigma to it, or in terms of going down the IVF?
Yeah, I think there is, like, in a sense, people maybe feel that people don't know what to say to them either. And, if they open up, then they're left maybe vulnerable of people asking them and stuff. And I suppose it really is the elephant in the room. Like, sometimes, you could be in a work environment where, like, everyone around you is getting pregnant and, like, you're sitting there all alone and, like, wishing everyone well, but this is happening to you internally and you can't, dictate it, or like the same with family and friends. So it's kind of like, it's a hard one to get the right combination of how far to open up, maybe a lot of people feel, and then where other people might stop and, like, ask the right questions. I think a lot of people find, like, so...
Yeah, because you don't really want to dig into it. Why?
Yeah,
for example,
exactly. Like,
that's not the purpose of someone sharing that information with you.
So
that's
I think people find it hard, and like then from the outside, other people find it hard asking, and so it's a hard topic for everyone, I think, involved.
Yeah, I think it's some time ago, years and years and years, but it's through interviews on a program like this that you would. When a couple was together for a while or just got married, you would say, and
I still get them questions,
time to start a family now. And as well intended as it might be, you just don't know what impact that's having on the person you've said it to.
Absolutely, I still would get them questions. We have twins, thank God, through IVF. And like, I think they were about 3 months, and people are asking me, was I going to go again? And, so people mean well, but it can, on a good day, no one pays any heed. But on a bad day where maybe you've got bad results before, or, like your time of the month has come again, then that can hit hard.
Or you could have just had a dispute with your partner as to whether or not you should or not.
Absolutely.
Can we do this again? Yeah, you know what I mean? There's a million reasons why, isn't there?
Absolutely. So I think that's where, it's a real from day to day you change, and it's a real battle, it's a real struggle, and it's a struggle for a couple and it's a struggle for individuals.
Before we talk about, it's in the context of the new publicly funded IVF scheme, because we've been waiting some time for this. How exclusive a club was the IVF club, if you know what I mean, in terms of, the expense of it, being able to afford the time to travel up and down to Dublin, if you know what I mean? Would it be fair to say that the majority of people that would have wanted to go down this route couldn't, or would most people have found a way, or what was the demographic
for a
breakup
lot of people,
there?
they're taking out loans or maybe remortgaging their house, depending on how long they're actually on the journey. For us, we did 2 full rounds of ICSI, and with that we had 4 transfers. So all in all in that, it was over 25,000. Wow. Yeah. And that was pound sterling, and in that, clinics aren't from clinic to clinic, it can be different. And also, we were charged at one stage £300 sterling for a prescription. And that was separate to everything. And you're so far in, you have to pay it. And that's just it. It's either pay it or you don't get the rest of your treatment. So it's hard. It's really financially hard on people, and especially the people that are maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years on the journey, and 10 rounds later.
Because it is not a silver bullet.
No, definitely. It's a lottery. And as someone did say yesterday on social media, it's an absolute lottery.
Yeah.
Like, you could be lucky the first time. There's other people 10 times and nothing.
Yeah, it's like the lotto, but you've been given 3 or 4 of the numbers, not all of them, sort of thing. And then, of course, then there is it's ever-present risk of miscarriage as well.
Big time.
Of course, too. So you spend this money, you build up to that, and then, you know, again, each individual will deal with that part of it separately. So I just want to say, in fairness to the government, right, what they've said, and the proof of the pudding will be in the eating, they've said, right, this is the scheme we have and this is what's funded. It will evolve and it will grow. Okay, so there's been a lot of reaction to it initially, some of it negative, some not happy with the BMI restrictions, the age restrictions. But as I say, they're saying that this is it just in its first incarnation. So, but we do have to react to what we have. What do you think what's your initial reaction when you heard, right, we actually now have a publicly funded IVF scheme. We know how and who can access it.
Yeah, like, we were absolutely delighted on Tuesday morning to hear this, and it's fantastic for the country, and like, it's fantastic for people starting out in their journey. It's like, it's going to financially help people, and it's going to make people's dreams come true, and we can't take away from that. But in saying that, I done like surveys myself during the week on our WhatsApp group and chatting to people either through the Roses and Rainbows page or private messaging me. You're looking at a good 80% that are totally out of the scheme.
Why is that?
Starting off because of either BMI, because they've already have children, too many rounds, or age.
Yeah.
Do you know? So like, it's
not for the current generation, really. Then
it's great for people starting out. Yeah.
Okay.
But if you're on the road, probably 2 years plus, you're probably out. Like it. And as they said, it is going to develop, but for a lot of people, it's when it's going to develop, and you know, are they going to be in them?
Well, you see, the problem with the delay in this was that people were delaying in whether to do it privately, and they were waiting because there was uncertainty.
Yeah.
And of course, this is something that's so important to people on a level that's not like waiting to get a house. This is something completely different. We have 80% of people out there then that are still waiting. Is it going to be expanded? Will I be able to? Or do we have to sacrifice probably almost everything and take more money out, or take that last bit of money that's in the savings account out?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's like for people now sitting today that can't do it, they're looking again. Where can we get this money from? Where can we pull it from? Can we afford? Do we have to go to abroad? Or, do you know, and it's really hard. And like, statistics do show that like, it's like probably around 30% a female problem, 30% men, 20% a mixture, and then 20% unknown. So a lot of the regulations and the criteria fall on women when you consider all of this. Like, and I think that's where like the BMI and the age thing is really hitting women hard.
Because fellas at 60.
Yeah. And like, that's 21 years of a difference, maybe, is it? Like, and that's huge. Like,
do you think they're factoring in potential complications of pregnancy if you're carrying weight, or if you're a little bit older?
Yeah, like, I guess that. But if you look at private clinics, their restrictions aren't really at 30.
Private clinics are never going to refuse money, though,
yeah,
are they?
But I think we have to look, like, in reality, like, there's people with bigger BMIs getting pregnant every day.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's people 40 plus getting pregnant every day. Like, we were, as a couple, probably the perfect match, and it took us 4 rounds.
Yeah.
Do you know? So I don't think you can personally go on that. Like, a lot of it sometimes is luck.
Yeah, and also too, if you're in that cohort that you talk of that this doesn't apply to, for the reasons like 42. It's going to be a kick in the teeth. You know what? They think I'm over the hill. Or if your BMI's higher, you're going to go, well, you know what I mean? That's going to cause pain to people, not just disappointment. That's going to cause upset.
Absolutely. Like, if you had 2 people in this room today and like one has a perfect BMI and someone else is over, how do you tell that person that you can't have it because your BMI is too much? It could be a medical form. It could be because of polycystic ovary.
It's
it could
a disease
be thyroid
as well. Like,
you know, and that's that's where it's hard. Like, and I know, and everyone within our community, we're full of gratitude for where we like got it to, but like, there's so many hurt. Do you know? And I think there is people hurt by it because it's no one's fault. Do you know? And
but it's going to leave people behind.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the thing, isn't it? And in terms of how this service is delivered, is it still an issue that you have to travel great distances for this, and this adds to the pressure, if you're in the Northwest? I mean, would it be infeasible as part of this scheme to see some sort of a remote clinic in the West, even if it were, I don't know, Sligo?
Yeah, I think the closest hub's going to be Galway, as far as I know.
Always is, isn't it?
Yeah, and I was talking to one lady through her page who's already been in contact with the hub, so it was through her GP alone. So the GP got all the testing sorted. She hadn't been down to the hub at all. Then the GP delivered the news that, no, sorry, your BMI is too high, which puts a lot of pressure on the GP too. That you're giving this bad
news. They're the firewall, aren't they?
I'm sorry, you're out of it, and that's hard. I think it is great, and it's great to have it, and it definitely needs a lot of development, but
it's going to keep the campaign has to keep going on, doesn't
absolutely.
it? Yeah, I mean Is it possible? Is it possible that if you are denied on the BMI, that if it's possible, and we know it's not always possible that there are that you can bring your BMI down, then you can reapply?
I think so. I do think so, but I suppose that all depends. Because you could have a medical issue that
exactly,
you're,
thyroid or anything. There's a multitude
and it's
of
putting
reasons.
a lot of stress on women.
100%. It's all on them.
It's all on the woman, and I think that's where it's really hard.
In a way, again, can put pressure on a relationship as well.
Absolutely. Infertility is it's so stressful. I ended up with non-epileptic seizures because of the stress of it.
Really.
It, and I think a lot of people don't see that part, that the minute you get up in the morning till you go to bed at night, you're thinking about
it's
it.
There.
You're probably researching what I can do next. Can I go on a diet? Can I do this? Can I do that? And you're spending maybe extra money then on alternative therapies like reflexology, acupuncture. So the cost just doesn't stop at a clinic. You're trying your best to.
Yeah, so I mean, at the end of the day, it is progress, but maybe for a next generation, unless the scheme is expanded, there does seem to be an appetite from the health minister to get this right. I don't want to sort of it sound like the wall's being pulled over my eyes, but I do get a sense on this one that he does want to do it right. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely.
And but that doesn't help the 80% who feel like they're gutted today.
Absolutely, and for probably at least 40% of them. At least they know they're never going to get that because they're just too far.
Yeah, I don't think the age thing's ever going to move.
I don't know honestly.
It
kind of, I think that's and that is the reality for the people on the road.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to help them. Now, in saying that, and for anyone going through it, you can get a tax relief, so make sure you do that.
Right.
And it's a little help, but most of that's going into your next round then if you can't,
Okay.
So.
Right, Marie, listen, thanks for that. If anyone wants more information on roses and rainbows, I presume it's the Facebook group, send a message there. And it's an infertility and miscarriage support in Letterkenny. Is there a mixture of people that have successfully went through the IVF program and those sorts? So it's an interesting space, isn't it, with people in all different sort of stages and how they've been impacted in different ways.
And just on that, we love hearing the success stories, and there is so many, and it helps people when they've had a bad day or anything. So it's a lovely mix of people, and it's non-invasive. Everyone's in the same boat, and we're all here to help each other.
All right, thank you so much for calling up, Marie. Really do appreciate it. Marie Dorian there, as I say, founder of Roses and Rainbows. You can check them out on Facebook.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Suckler farmers vent fury in Mayo. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Anger over suckler herd projections boils over at farmer meeting. Strict new fertiliser rules now in place. We've everything you need to know. We talked to the Mayo farmer hitting €6 a kilo for his organic cattle. Government to examine how much turf people burn in their homes. TB reactor numbers soar. And calls for Minister to deliver sheep supports before it's too late.
All inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal. On sale now.
Eating out later? Sister Sarah's mouth-watering menu is packed with tempting dishes and all-time favourites. Whether it's a special occasion or a private function, their party options and buffet choices have got you covered. Book now on 91222238. Sister Sarah's, serving food you love until 9 p.m. every day.
Breedon's Furniture, Cooley-Maville. With over 40 years of experience in furniture and floor coverings, they've got Irish-made furniture, suites, beds, mattresses, dining, flooring, slide robes and occasional furniture. Great prices and large selection now available at Breedon's Home Furnitures, Cooley-Maville.
Getting married? BizPrint can take care of all your printing needs. Not just invitations, but save the date cards, order of service booklets, table cards and so much more. See what's available at weddinginvites.ie or call 9177 955.
Kelly's Diner in Letterkenny proudly introduced its newest member of the team, a family-friendly robotic waiter. It's the only one of its kind in the Northwest, there to help staff serve customers. And with a packed menu to pick from all week, from early to late, there's loads to do. If you'd like to see this robotic waiter in action, just pop into Kelly's award-winning diner today at Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Looking for a flexible, affordable home improvement loan for your dream kitchen, bedroom or bathroom? At BNS Credit Union, we are here to help. Renovate loans from €5,000 to €70,000. Visit our website at bnscu.ie or free phone 1800 290 390, where our dedicated and experienced loans team are delighted to help you. Loans are subject to approval. Terms and conditions apply. BNS Credit Union Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
In as little as 3 minutes, you could die from smoke inhalation. A working smoke alarm gives you a chance to get out. It might be the sound that saves your life. Test your smoke alarms regularly, remove obvious dangers, and have an escape route planned. Visit firesafetyweek.ie for more fire safety tips. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Design driven by impulse, performance in tune with your emotions, an instant connection, electric. At Cupra, we believe in galvanizing these instincts. It's why the Cupra Born, our 100% electric model, looks, feels and behaves unlike anything else on the road. Follow your impulse and visit cupraofficial.ie to see our incredible July offers. Visit Connolly's Cupra, Sligo. Cupra Born. Test drive today. Own it tomorrow.
Nutrius Winling Crunch is now on offer at your local Homeland store. Buy 10 bags of Nutrius Winling Crunch ATP, get one free, or get €15 off per tonne in bulk. The Nutrius Beef ATP pack enhances animal performance through maximising rumen efficiency. Contact your local Homeland store or farm commercial specialist today. Visit nutrius.ie for full product details.
Okay, we welcome onto the programme now Brendan O'Connor, President of the GRA. And it says frontline Gardaí are to be balloted on a no-confidence vote in Garda Commissioner Drew Harris in row over rosters. Over 11,500 frontline Gardaí to be balloted on the vote of no confidence in Drew Harris as part of a deepening row over rosters. Brendan, I mean, this is unprecedented. This is a really significant move by the association. Obviously, the ballot has to be voted upon, but I presume this is not a decision taken lightly.
No, definitely not, Greg. As you say, it is unprecedented, and it's a situation that we have unfortunately arrived at, but it has built over along probably the last couple of years. With increasing disillusionment and discontent amongst our members, there's serious problems in the workforce, there's serious problems with the direction which policing is going. Our members are articulating them to us. And unfortunately, we have had engagement with management, but their concerns aren't being listened to. And the Commissioner and his team continue to manage the organisation in a way that's impacting, we believe, on members' welfare and well-being. So we believe that our members are demanding action. So there is a slight dispute between ourselves and the Commissioner as to the authenticity of our perspective and our mandate. So this will bring clarity in the situation and see, is the GRA correct in our assertions on behalf of our members, or is the Commissioner correct that the people that he meets are satisfied and quite happy and highly motivated in the organisation? What are the main concerns with Drew Harris? Well, I wouldn't say they're personally with Drew Harris. It's either to do with policy decisions that are driven by... This is a vote of no. This is a vote of no confidence in Drew Harris. Well, Commissioner Harris is the figurehead of the organisation, and he's very open and very public and stating that he sees himself as the CEO. So there's serious problems in the workforce of the organisation. Ultimately, it's up to him to address them. So that's why it's directed at his particular office. So that's really where it's going,
So what would it take to defer this or to see this off? In other words, I presume this action is taken as a leverage. So what are you hoping when Mr. Harris... Commissioner Harris is aware of this now. What would it take from him to avert this action?
Well, I suppose really what it would take is a change of mindset and a change of attitude and some demonstration of a willingness to listen to the concerns of our members and to address the concerns and take some tangible action that our members will be satisfied to say that, what they have to say, the issues that they have, are being addressed in a meaningful manner and not just kind of lip service. So, I got sidetracked there a second ago, but really what we're talking about here is the big problem we see is rosters, the attitude to rosters that has been adopted by the management team, and also things like the attitude to, we believe, suspensions and discipline, which is an overemphasis on, and we see members who are suspended, languishing on suspension for long periods of time. Their life is on hold and their lives are basically being destroyed, and we think they're being denied fair procedure, and we have highlighted this, we have made submissions, and we just don't seem to be listened to or getting any traction. But the rosters was destroyed at broke the camel's back, really. The Commissioner has decided to go back to a roster that is agreed and negotiated, but is unpopular, and we believe actually is unworkable. And the Commissioner agrees with that because he has issued correspondence to us which states that he's not in a position to go back to a 5-unit shift pattern. But yet he's done a U-turn and done this, knowing that the members are at a time when there's difficulties on the front line and there is issues and there's discontentment and less people have been asked to deliver more and rising assaults, that he would turn around and not impose, but we'll go back to a roster that members are unpopular, and probably the only positive at the minute is the COVID roster that actually we arrived at by accident, but it's reasonably popular with members, but he's going to take that away.
And I mean, obviously, he's also facing a major crisis in terms of Garda numbers. We are seeing people leaving the force, and only now are they being asked as to why they're leaving the force, which I think is really quite remarkable, whether that's started or not yet. They can't reach recruitment targets. It's really seen as a job, particularly with the pay and the cost of living and everything else that goes along with it. It's not really being seen as a job anyone really wants to do.
But that again feeds into the narrative of this situation we've arrived at. And the Garda Commissioner attended our annual delegate conference in April, and we spoke to him and delivered a very clear message and articulated the issues that you say. And the response is that no, this is just this industry norm, and this is what's happening in the workplace, and there's nothing to see here, that morale isn't an issue, and that there's not a problem with retention. Now, we have obviously, and then when the DRA started conducting our own interviews because management weren't, now management are conducting them. So certainly we believe that we have tried to be progressive, we tried to identify problems, we're a solutions-based association. We want policing to prevail, we want it to be effective. Our members are the main stakeholders. We use the term stakeholders, but our members have dedicated their lives to clears, and we believe that what they have to say and their knowledge just isn't being listened to, and the association as their spokespeople, as their collective voice, hasn't been given the traction it deserves.
If this vote of no confidence carries, is the position of Commissioner Drew Harris tenable?
Well, we don't want to preempt the decision, but that will be a decision for the Commissioner to reflect on the outcome of it, or the GRA to reflect on the outcome and instigate a change of mindset. But certainly we're not being prescriptive about what the outcome will be or what the implications of it would be, but that's something we'll have to address as the result becomes apparent.
OK, thanks for your time as always. Brendan O'Connor, who is president of the Garda Representative Association. 08660 25,000 WhatsApps and texts to that number. Now, I want to mention, if I can, a family fun day and tractor run. It is on Saturday, the 29th of July at 1 p.m. That's this coming Saturday. It's in Glen Valley Adventure Centre in Glen. €20 tractor registration fee. Registration at 12 p.m. at the Chapel Car Park in Carrigart. Returning to Glen Valley Adventure Centre in Glen, where there'll be an inflatable slide, fun fair, face painting, refreshments, music, raffles and prizes, and much more. So get along to the Family Fun Day and Tractor Run this coming Saturday. And you can register your tractor at the Chapel Car Park at 12 p.m. And it's all in relation to Scullowen in Carrigart. Okay, so you can support them in what they're doing. Please play a request for our parents, Stacey and Lester Preston from Ardstraw, who celebrate their 10th wedding anniversary today. Love from Troy and Sammy and Joe. Please play another request for Stacey, and Lester Preston from Ardstraw. That message coming in this time from Mum Eileen. Could you please play a request for Roisin McConway, Branch and Paddy West, who are getting married today? Ooh, exciting. Have a great day. We can't wait to join you on your special day. Love, Madge, Carr and the Carr family. And can I play a request for my daddy, Malachi Brown in Raffo, who's 60 today, from Aoife, Emma and Ashley. Now, I was just about to go to an ad break, and that's why I was doing the requests and announcements beforehand. But I'll go first to Kilgar, who has a comment on Commissioner Harris. Good morning to you.
Hi, Greg. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. What's your views on all this?
Well, I actually agree with Brett McCarroll there, that the Commissioner, I don't think we had great hopes for the Commissioner when he started. And unfortunately, I think he has achieved nothing at all. What he has achieved is, between the rank and file, or so what it seems, is they're totally unimpressed with him. You know, I can't talk for full-timers, as you know. I don't know if you know that, but I was a reserve. I was reserve for 12 years and retired 2 years. But I actually met the new Commissioner, because I had this thing about the reserves, how it could be utilised, etc., and I'd always wanted something better for it and thought it could be improved. Now, I met the Commissioner and I had a great talk with him, and as Brendan said there, lip service, like I thought, yeah, we're going to get this sorted, he's going to do it, and still nothing has happened. And the Policing Authority. Now, remember, the Policing Authority has to say, to the best of my knowledge, in appointing the Commissioner. And they have appointed the Commissioner. And I had meetings with them. I actually had a meeting. I was sent from Donegal as a rep for the reserve members here. And I had a meeting with them over it, and nothing's happened. That was in 2018. So I think it's time for Harris to go, and I think it's time for the Policing Authority to be totally changed and a new Policing Authority. I don't think, from speaking to people off air and on air, that morale amongst the force has been lower. Well, as I say, I was there. I worked as a reserve when times were bad. That would have been the 2018-19, when I suppose the recession and members were leaving. And we were really stressed and under pressure, and, as I say, really down in the dumps, and it was bad. And then recruitment started in 2014, and we thought, yeah, you know, there's more, but it wasn't. It didn't change anything. The full-time members are under such pressure, and paperwork, and I know you have to have a certain amount of paperwork. I absolutely understand that, but they're bogged under. They're not being supported. They're definitely not being supported by top brass, for the want of a better. They're not at all. And it seems they're just... What a guard has to go through in a day is unbelievable. As a reserve, when I went in there, to see what a guard has to listen to on a daily basis, I love being a reserve, but I don't think I could be a full-time guard, because what they have to listen to, what they have to do, and how they do it is unbelievable. Is Drew Harris, though, not just a figurehead? Could he not be the person that makes change, that sort of goes, right, okay? I mean, if you're losing your best, if you're losing your best and your brightest, and those with the experience, because they're just saying, all right, I'm out, no point sticking around here any longer, and the morale in the force is low, and also it's no longer seen as a attractive career. Once it was, you know, if you were a member, if you got into the Guards, it was like, wow, okay. Now they can't even recruit as many as they need.
I mean, you don't have the faith in Drew Harris being the man to change the culture. I hate that word because it's overused, but you know what I mean.
I genuinely did. I dealt with it because with the reserve, I dealt with two other commissioners. You know, and I constantly talking and emailing. Now, Noreen O'Sullivan wasn't too bad. She started, but then she was put out. You know, she lost her job, and then Harris came in. And Harris, as I say, any time that I've had any dealings with the Department of the Justice saying or whatever about and Garda's reserve, now I'm talking about the reserve, I was always put back that this is operational matter for the commissioner. So the buck stops with the commissioner. He is the guy that makes the decisions at the end of the day. Now, he may have other people there, but he has appointed them. I mean, even, I have to say, look at what has happened to the divisions, and look at the way policing has, under his guardianship, has gone. Look at the closing of stations. This is all under his guardianship. You know, look at the way the divisions, look at the way that they have to call up Galway. You can't call your local station now. You'll be probably put through to Galway. You know, all these things have come under his, since he started. You know, this is supposed to be community policing. When you start putting something that happens in my hometown, Buncrana, and you send it to somebody in Galway who hasn't got a clue.
Yeah, the calls are triaged effectively there. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, that does have an effect then on the public's want to call. They, you know, I've spoken to people that go, well, what's the point in ringing? You get put through to Galway, which doesn't help either in terms of information gathering, because some of the calls are not like looking for immediate responses. You know, they are to say, look, there's a car acting suspiciously here. Then people don't have the faith that that's being collated correctly in Galway and passed through, because sometimes the people you get through down there don't really understand the place names and what have you. The local knowledge is being lost. Now, they might argue that it's working and so on and so forth, but hey, perception is 9/10 of reality, and if that's what the public perceive, well, then that's probably kind of the reality, whether it's true or not.
Well, I know if I thought that my phone call was going to be routed back down to Galway and routed back, I wouldn't be bothered. You know, it's as simple as that. I just wouldn't be bothered. I probably might call into a station, but it's just been a litany of things that don't go right. I mean, as a reservist, a retired reservist, like, that to me was my top thing. It was, I really thought it was of benefit to the people of this country. Number one, the benefit to Garda Síochána, because you had more feet on the street, you had more Gardaí down there. But as I say, this has been going on with him and nothing has happened. He says there's a review. This review at the minute, I think, is now 3 years on the go. You know, how long is a piece of string?
Yeah, but things are. But listen, the routing calls to Galway was introduced. It's a pilot, but I mean, like, it's not a pilot, is it really? It's a soft introduction to it. So we go, oh, right, okay, we'll suck it and see. And then it ends up being the norm, you know. And you know, we can't escape the fact either that there are concerns. We have it in the capital, and obviously there's going to be a reaction because it's next door to RTE and Virgin Media. But also there are great concerns up in this part of the world about the level of policing, the Garda presence, the visible Garda presence. People feel they can do whatever they like in broad daylight. We used to talk about crimes, and it was like at night, at dark. You know, you'd see the time. It was an hour after it would get darker overnight. Now, it's broad daylight.
Nice.
People...
Exactly.
And I don't blame the local Gardaí, because they're tasked with what they're tasked to do. But I mean, it now the appeals, it's not about the cover of darkness or having your house well lit up. All good advice. These things happen in broad daylight.
But, you know... It's ironic because you're saying that, because one of the things that I actually said to Commissioner Harris when I met him was, when I was talking about the reserve, and I said, look, there's a lot of reserves that maybe can't come in at night time and maybe can't come in, but would love to be out on the beat during the day. And I said, there's nothing, I said, that people like to see more. They feel safe. You see a member of Garda Síochána. I'm not saying you will be safe, but do you know what I mean? And he agreed with me. And I said, well, why don't we utilise this? Because we don't have enough guards. They don't have enough time. They're, you know, full-time members. They are stretched to the limit. It's as simple as that. There's no other way of putting it. That's what's happening. They're stretched to the limit. You have these volunteers that would be more than happy to do when they have their spare time, which with a lot of them was daytime. You know, why not? Why not use them? Oh yes, yeah, that's it. That, you know, fantastic idea. And here we are.
All right, Kilgar, thanks for your time. We do appreciate your insight. All right, take care of yourself. That is Kilgar there, former reservist, retired now. What do you think? 086 60 25,000. 086 60 25,000. Back to our conversation now with Karen. A caller says, such a brave young woman. No victim should ever be blamed. The no smoke without fire myth is sadly burning brightly in Irish society. Sadly, she's not the only victim, and hopefully her bravery will give other children and adult victims the spur to speak up about their terrible experiences. It shows that the true voice of the child must be heard and be primary, and not the voice their parents wants to be heard, groomed or manipulated. Sadly, we have very few experts trained or open to hearing the child's voice in Ireland, especially in Irish courts. Another listener says, this is taught in primary school. The Stay Safe programme is taught from junior infants up to 6th class. It teaches about unsafe touches and how to tell. Okay. You see, this is because we've had comments on both sides of that, and you're the first person to point out that it's actually told, and this goes back to my concern that we, as parents and guardians and grandparents and we don't really know what's being taught and how it's being taught, do we? Still, I don't think some of us do, of course. I'm not talking about all of us, but many of us don't. Hi, Greg. Just want to say Karen has helped me this morning. I was abused and to this day felt guilt, shame and dirty. Karen would make a perfect counsellor. Well done to her for getting justice. Unfortunately, it's too late for me as my abuser is deceased. I want to wish Karen every good wish and happiness for the future. And can I speak to you on behalf of myself and I'm sure the majority of people listening, please, as if you can, relieve yourself of the feelings of guilt and shame. It's not your fault. You did nothing wrong, and you shouldn't live your life like that. And I'm glad that Karen's words and her story have helped you today. A caller says Garda recruitment needs to change. Recruitment age, people over 36 should be allowed to apply like the PSNI. Yeah, if you watch in America as well, watch a lot of crime shows, you get people who were school teachers and then they join, the detective squads at the age of 50, 55. Unless it was really about fitness, and it doesn't seem to be much about fitness. But why would you preclude people over 36? You know what I mean? It's crazy. Extend it out. I agree with you. It needs to change. And also, too, what's happening an awful lot at the moment is other countries are taking our guards. They're coming over. Canada particularly has been quite... Australia, has been particularly active in this area, coming over. They like the way our guards are trained. They're well received over in Australia, and they're saying, come over here and we'll look after you. We'll give you this job, we'll give you that job, we'll give you that lifestyle. I'd say we're losing quite a few Gardaí to the likes of Australia as well, because they go over there and they're treated like kings and queens. Sinead O'Connor is all over the papers today, says a caller, but despite her mental health issues being well known, they are the very people who tormented and used her state of mind as clickbait. Shame on them. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about and who you're talking about there. Mental health in this country is a joke. I'm sorry, Greg. Counselling can be given 6 weeks, then it costs money. More focus needs to be placed on mental health from the early education system. Only my opinion. Some doctors could actually listen to patients. Give it 2 weeks. Give in 2 weeks for antidepressants, 2 weeks of harrowing paranoia. Look for positives. Ironically, if mental health is in the dumps, even putting one foot in front of the other is a struggle. As I say, only my opinion. Thanks, Greg. Keep up the great work. And thanks for texting in your opinion. It's not only your opinion. Your opinion's incredibly significant, and we appreciate you sharing it with us. Okay, let's see the time here. We're going to take a break now because we're heading towards the news, and I have a couple of long comments here, and I don't want to rush them or not give them the attention they deserve, seeing as you were kind enough to text and message in. Right, back with more shortly.
Get quality cuts for quality value at Lidl. Like our Board B approved Irish strip loin steak was $3.99, now $3.49. Sweeten the deal with this honeydew melon was $2.29, now 99 cents. Get ahead with Budweiser 15 pack, now $15.27. Go on, shop without compromise. Go full Lidl today. Get the facts, be drinkaware, visit drinkaware.ie.
Time is ticking on the hottest sale of the year at Easy Living Furniture. The spectacular summer sale must end this Sunday. With absolutely everything reduced, unbeatable offers and 0% finance available, now is the perfect time to invest in comfort and style. Transform your home today. Our dedicated team are here to help. So visit Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park. The spectacular summer sale must end this Sunday.
Now is the time. Explore the current 232 offers at Connolly's Volkswagen, Letterkenny. Register your new Volkswagen before July 31st and avail of 0% finance on the fully electric ID4 and ID5. €1,500 booster on the T-Roc Life SUV or a €3,500 booster on your SEAI Grant for the fully electric E-Up. Inquire today with our team on 074 9122 333 or see connellys.ie for more information. Terms and conditions apply. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland Limited and is subject to lender criteria. Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, we are now operating out of one new state-of-the-art showroom in Donegal Town. And we invite you to visit our new 5,000 square foot Donegal Town showroom to discover the latest eye-catching designs. Remember, at Cherrymore, you're dealing directly with the manufacturer, which means high-quality kitchens at factory prices. Start planning your dream kitchen or bedroom by calling Cherrymore on 074 9725 822. Cherrymore, 25 years delivering value, quality and service all over Ireland.
All right, talking a little earlier on about mental health supports. After the news at 11, we're going to be speaking to the communications manager with My Mind, which is actually appealing for a premises to facilitate face-to-face counselling services for people in Donegal. So hopefully someone out there might be able to help in that appeal.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
OK, it is 11 o'clock. It's time for a news update. It's good morning to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. A Donegal woman who was raped and sexually assaulted by her father told the 9 till noon show today that she's hopeful her decision to waive her anonymity will help others in the same situation realise it was not their fault. 22-year-old Karen told Greg Hughes that speaking publicly has helped her break out of the cycle of abuse in which she was trapped. Donegal County Council has tried to the Garda Commissioner Drew Harris in support of the retention of Donegal as a standalone Garda division. Meanwhile, over 11,500 Gardaí are to be balloted on a vote of no confidence in Commissioner Harris. His leadership has been called into question over the recruitment and retention of officers during his tenure and the return of pre-COVID rosters. The Mica Action Group is urging Housing Minister Darragh O'Brien to attend a public meeting of affected homeowners to outline how he believes the recently published Enhanced Defective Block scheme will work. MAG says Department of Housing officials have repeatedly said they believe the vast majority of those affected will receive 100% redress, but they say that's at odds with what homeowners working through the practicalities of the scheme are finding. An Irish MEP has proposed the establishment of an EU one-stop shop in Belfast, together with the appointment of an EU economic envoy to Northern Ireland. Sean Kelly says under the Windsor framework, Northern Ireland enjoys access to both the EU and UK internal markets. He says it puts the North in a unique position, and harnessing that potential could bring significant economic benefits both to the North and the border counties. And Bank of Ireland is again warning about an increase in the number of scams in circulation in which people impersonate members of families. It's recorded a 25% increase in the number of texts involving hi mum or hi dad messages in the month of July. The bank believes the messages, which claim to be from a relative abroad in need of money, were timed to coincide with the holiday season. And we're back with news headlines again at 12 noon.
Thank you, Donald.
There's nothing quite like that doorbell moment when your McDelivery arrives. Or snaffling fries on the way back to the living room. There's nothing quite like the taste of a Big Mac in your own home. And there's nothing quite like the kids enjoying a Happy Meal in perfect peace. For a minute anyway. There's nothing quite like a McDelivery. Order now in the Uber Eats or Just Eat app. At participating restaurants only. Serving times and delivery fees apply. See Uber Eats or Just Eat for full details.
OK, Tom Hanratty is Communication Manager with My Mind. Good morning, Tom.
Greg, how are you?
Good, great to see you. Thanks for joining us. OK, talk to us about My Mind. What does this organisation do?
So we're a social enterprise offering psychotherapy, counselling and psychological support sessions around the country. It's basically a blended model of online and face-to-face services that we offer, albeit we have 5 urban centres only in Dublin, Cork and Limerick. So outside of that, our services are offered predominantly online. We have a network of over 220 mental health professionals working around the country, offering these services through either phone or online, or if they're working outside of the face-to-face centres.
Yeah, and your service is being extended now to cover those affected by the defective concrete crisis scandal.
Yes, exactly. So the Department of Housing have approached us and they've provided a certain amount of funding for us to provide our services, albeit that they will cover the cost of it. So the services are free of charge for anyone who has been impacted by defective concrete blocks in the counties of Donegal, Mayo, Clare and Limerick.
And to help them through how it's impacting their mental health, or like, in other words, what element of that experience of theirs would they benefit from in terms of these sessions that they'll have available to them?
Yeah, exactly that. Basically supporting what's obviously a very difficult situation from a mental health perspective. So trying to help them, the people impacted, and help them through the situation and improving their mental health through that.
Okay, so through this, 6 sessions are being offered of counselling on a first-come, first-served basis. How many spaces do you have available?
So we don't have necessarily a cap on it, albeit, we...
Is it a cap on resources? Is it once the resources are exhausted, then the sessions end? Is that it?
Yeah, exactly that. So we do have a limited number of sessions that we can deliver, but at that point in time, the services will still be open and they'll still be available, but we might not necessarily have the funding to cover them free of charge.
And how much was My Mind given to provide the support for people affected by Mica, defective concrete?
I don't actually have that figure in front of me, Greg, I'm afraid, no.
Right, okay. Now, is it in person, is it remotely, or is it whatever best suits the person making contact?
So, as I mentioned, we own our face-to-face centres are in Dublin, Cork and Limerick. So obviously we don't have any physical presence in the affected counties, unfortunately. So I suppose as a side project to this, or as separately to this, but at the same time, we've actually been looking into how we can deliver face-to-face services across the country, because we're seeing a growing demand even since we've come out of COVID, and maybe it's, I suppose, people being maybe just too used to such online interactions that there's a growing demand for face-to-face services. So we're looking into how we can provide that across the country, albeit that the current model that we have of, sizable urban centres where we have multiple rooms, multiple therapists working out of, and we rent a building as a whole. That's not necessarily what we're looking for at the moment, just given the costs incurred, etc. But we're looking at potentially developing partnerships with GP practices or other primary care facilities that are already established, already operating in local communities, to see if we can partner with them, rent rooms or space available, and offer face-to-face services that way. Yeah, and there are going to be counselling services available to the people of Donegal. It's one of the counties involved in this extension, obviously. So when do you hope to be able to deliver these face-to-face services? I mean, remote is fine, but for some people they don't really engage well in that sort of environment. So I seen some coverage of this where it was like an appeal for a facility. So in other words, if someone out there has a space, are you open to them offering that space and saying, look, Absolutely.
This is important.
Yeah,
that's
essentially what we're looking for. So, I mean, I suppose the one part is that the services are currently available and they're active. So if anyone is looking to avail of the services, they can contact our office on 0818 500 800 or hq@mymind.org, and somebody would essentially apply the code, which means they can get the free of charge services. But as you pointed out, at the moment, they are only currently available online, given that we don't have a physical presence. So the other part to it is that, we would love for anybody working or representing a facility within Donegal specifically, or any of the other affected counties, if they feel there's a suitable premises or facility there that has space available, and that they might even be interested in discussing this or looking at it further, we'd love to hear from them as well. So any potential opportunities for partnerships there, we'd be delighted to hear from anybody.
All right, listen, thanks for your time this morning, Tom. I do appreciate it. And people can go to that website. What is it once again?
So mymind.org, you can find all the details through our website there.
All right, thanks very much indeed. Tom Hanratty, Communications Manager with My Mind. On the face of it, sounds great. I would be interested to find out how much money has actually been allocated for that and how much counselling can be provided through it. But anyway, great talk today regarding Sinead O'Connor. People weren't too kind to her when she called a spade a spade. Is this an Irish thing? Well, some of it was ahead of her time. You have to remember when she spoke out about certain issues, the country probably wasn't really ready for it. She formed part of opening that conversation. The same you could say of Gay Byrne as well. People like that. But obviously, you know, she had a very difficult time of it as well. Is Noreen O'Sullivan, the previous Garda commissioner who could not account for 12 mobile phones used by them, was Drew Harris's appointment a political stunt? Who knows, asks a question. Another, can a police force operate if it's at loggerheads with its commissioner? I don't think so. Mr. Harris may not be the best choice for the job. Personally, I can't see how you can have the rank and file have a vote of no confidence in you and still stay in that position. I really don't see how that's doable. But we'll see. They're hoping that it puts pressure on him. All right, dear Greg, with Keely's coming up shortly, if you have a question that you want answered as it relates to a relationship with someone in your life, maybe it's your other half or potentially another half, or maybe it's a family member. I always say that sometimes, you know, when we have our issues, we don't want to talk to those closest to us because we don't want them then to sort of have their views changed as the person we're seeking advice about. So this is a safe space for you to WhatsApp or text in confidence to 08660 25,000. And if we can get a question answered for you from our expert, Keely Taverner, then we shall do so. So stay right where you are. That is coming up just after these messages.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
I'm not the kind of person who wants to sit in a metal box. I don't want to slowly die in traffic. I want to ride a motorbike. And I want to keep riding a motorbike. I don't want to suddenly die in traffic. I'm not the kind of person who wants to lie in a wooden box.
Biking is a joy. Don't let it kill you. A third of bikers who have died on our roads were speeding. So ease off the throttle and keep within the speed limit. From the Road Safety Authority.
Homeowners, it's time to unlock incredible savings on your energy bills. Efficient Renewables is here to reduce your energy consumption, say goodbye to skyrocketing costs, and hello to renewable energy solutions. With no VAT on solar panels and the generous grants for both solar panels and heat pumps, see these innovative systems in action in our state-of-the-art showroom in Newton Cunningham today. Contact Efficient Renewables on 074 97 08320.
With 232 underway, it's not too late to secure your new Kia. With the Kia Ceed petrol and diesel, the Sportage in hybrid, plug-in hybrid and diesel, and the award-winning car of the year, the EV6 all-electric. All available for immediate delivery. Call into iMotors in Letterkenny or Malin to find out more. Open 6 days a week.
All men's wedding suits packages are now 20% off. Just book your wedding suits before August 31st and get a whopping 20% off. Don't stand still. Evolve. Letterkenny Retail Park. Terms and conditions apply.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
The time is 11 minutes past 11, which means it's time for us to say a very good morning now to Keely Taverner, psychotherapist, author and coach. Good morning, Keely. How are you getting on?
I'm doing well. I'm not too bad. How are you, sir?
You're looking vibrant.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm on a bit of keto at the moment, eating avocado every day.
Do you mash it or just what way do you have it?
Nah, I just as it comes.
Okay.
As it comes.
Right, good stuff. As I said, Keely Taverna is a psychotherapist, author and coach. Any questions, getting them into us now, 086 60 25,000 or call on 074 91 25,000. Do you know, I might just get straight into it, Keely, because lots of people have been messaging in and we carry some over as well. But this is what I wanted to go for here because I think this is kind of typical of what happens out there. My partner's job is causing them a lot of stress and it's starting to affect our relationship now, Keely. How can I support them and help them find a healthy work-life balance?
Well, firstly, do they want your help? Always the best question to ask the self, because unsolicited, undesired, unwelcomed help will create more stress for you. Is this a problem for them? Is the question. Because otherwise you're trying to resolve a problem and the person does not perceive that they have a problem. So that would be my first inquiry, would be to be curious about, does your partner perceive that they have a problem? And if they do, I would encourage you to think about encourage them to see what they think they should do about it.
With things like life is tough, Keely. That's the truth. It comes at you really, really quick. I mean, also maybe they need to talk about how they deal with stress. Do you know what I mean? How they're dealing with stress. So it's not necessarily work-life balance, but how do you deal with the stress of your work? Because it's stressful for all of us. Like you hear a lot of stuff. You can't carry that with you. I'm sure some of it you do, but you have to find a way that when you've finished a session or when it's Keely time or or your family time, whatever it is, you've had to learn, I'm sure, and use some of your own techniques to sort of say, right, I have to park that now. But your job is stressful for a different person.
Absolutely. I got to the point where, your health begins to fail. You end up putting on weight. In my early days, I started to get cold sores. Right? Yeah. These are all physical bodily signs that all is not well.
Mouth ulcers.
Oh, is that yours?
Yeah.
I have those ones, yeah. Yeah, but I know if I get that tingle, I have to start to address work-life balance, which is tricky if you really love what you do as well, because sometimes it just doesn't feel like work. But I guess the challenge in this particular situation is if someone is quite comfortable to work in that way, you have to be careful if it then becomes your problem and not theirs. And then maybe as a partner, you might want to do things. So one of the biggest issues I'm seeing much more in the therapy room, this legacy of COVID, is social anxiety based on working from home. People who've been working home for a long time now have become a little bit spoiled to some degree, where now they're anxious about taking the train, anxious about getting out there. And and when they present in therapy, I just get curious about lifestyle. What I've observed is they're working longer hours, they're actually giving more and actually not getting dressed properly, and this has a kind of compounding effect. So some of the things might be, as a partner, you might say, well, let's put something in the diary. So I don't know, at least on a Thursday at 6, we go salsa. I say to many of my clients, you've got nothing else in your diary. What happened to the things you enjoy? A lovely client I'm working with came stressed out and he's just reinvigorated his swimming. It just went very good at it at school. And over the years, with the aspiration to aspire up, to get more money, get the bigger house, stop renting, what happened is the self-care, which isn't just about, getting your hair and your nails done. Self-care is going for a swim after work. All of those small things just they just dropped away.
I'm thinking, Keely, how many people are listening who are perfectly happy, but that resonates with them for different reasons. It could be having a baby or something whereby you've got yourself into a rut whereby you don't feel happy. But then if you were to look at your diary, you're not doing an awful lot of stuff that you used to do before. I think that's actually really quite an interesting thing to look at in your own life, regardless of whether you're single or in a happy relationship or otherwise.
Absolutely.
Really. Absolutely. And why are we giving up certain things? Because do you know what I mean? Like I'm thinking here now, I don't do things that I used to, but why not? I possibly could. Probably maybe have the odd game of golf.
There you go.
I've kind of sort of accepted that that's a sacrifice of being the father of a young child, but there's no really reason why I shouldn't.
Exactly, and that's important, but that also can suggest to your client, your partner, what might she need to think about.
Oh, she is the life of Riley. It's all me.
You married well. Well done, sister. You're going to marry well. Married well. If he's playing golf, she's picked a winner.
Okay. No, but I think it's best to be honest. Like there's no point me sitting. I'm just a regular person. I get it too, right? My partner and I have been talking about getting married, but we're not sure if we're ready. How can we know if we're ready to take this big step in our relationship?
Well, there are some courses. I know the courses I always recommend for people is the marriage course, which is done by a church, and that is in London. I think it's part of the Alpha course. I think that can also help people to get prepped.
Yeah, I think pre-marriage courses in certain religions are more common here. So yeah, that is a thing here too, obviously, Keely.
Yeah, I would really I recommend that, and you don't always have to be a believer either. But actually the structure, so looking at things like finance, your values, because values are, I believe, one of the most important concepts in relationships, because if you've got values clashes, you can predict that their problems, will come. So I'm a massive fan of encouraging people, if they're not too sure, check out the marriage course. I think there's also a book, I'm looking for it now, I'll probably never find it, that I've also recommended. I think it's by Nikki Gumbel, about marriage preparation, and I think that's a wonderful place to start. And if you can get a physical course, that's even better, where you actually get up and go, because you're likely to meet other couples, and it just can help to really ground you to get much more clearer about the way forward. And obviously with the narcissism specialism that I deal with, having conversations about finance, what we may do, should we part. The more I understand this, I'm working with solicitors at the moment, I think these are really important conversations.
Yeah. And I suppose our expectations of the other, once it's formalised in inverted commas, if you know what I mean, that all of a sudden you could find on day one the fellow or the woman saying, and if it's a same-sex partnership, where whatever applies, going, well, now we're married, such and such. Oh, well, we never had that conversation before.
Absolutely. And finances is one of the major factors for divorce and separation in relationships. And so these courses actually really take people through the steps for the things that often happen that can cause relationship breakdown. For example, love languages. That's important to understand if you're someone who prefers, acts of kindness, or you prefer gifts. Like, beginning to understand how each other operates can be really important. I think it's a really sensible move, because at the far end, when relationships don't necessarily work out, these things have been put in place in the first case, and you've had those conversations before.
But what about the old saying, if you're prepared to fail, you fail to prepare?
Well, there you go. And I mean, I've heard some people of late saying a marriage is like a business agreement. And I kind of pushed back against that. But now the more I'm working with people going through, disagreement, separation, there's a kind of uncomfortable element about that. And I think in these courses, you do look at things like finance, what you've brought into the marriage.
But you know what, too? You've expressed your concerns, obviously, and I know particularly in terms of narcissism, it's something that you're very focused on, but also coercive control. I suppose if those boundaries and those those situations are set out, it kind of maybe, firstly gets the conversation out in front before you perhaps commit. But secondly, too, it removes maybe some of those conversations or pressures or coercions that can happen in a relationship, because everyone knows that everyone's got their independence or their exit strategy. That again sounds terrible, but I would say rather, I kind of went at it with a negative, but maybe it goes in there and it actually takes that problem out of the relationship so you can focus on other stuff.
Absolutely, because you've had those difficult conversations before, so you've got clarity moving in. So for example, if you're going to inherit your parents' house, or you've inherited it, that some, as I understand, prenups are honoured in the UK. The solicitor I spoke to last week was talking about, sometimes, it's like what I bring in before remains mine, what we create together is, and that's how it works. And I think because I see people at the far end who, especially if a partner's the breadwinner, it really becomes very sticky. And I know we want to believe in love, and I think that is a wonderful, beautiful thing. I really, truly do. And I do believe there is space to talk about, okay, what if, what do we need to put in place so that you're both clear?
I think included in that is a value, an actual value of the breadwinner's income that their partner, you know, they facilitate them being the breadwinner. Do you know what I mean? There's a huge value to that. How that's accrued over years, I don't know. Okay. My partner has a hard time expressing their feelings and it's causing problems in our relationship. So how can I get them to open up more to me?
Run that past me again.
My partner has a hard time expressing his feelings and it's causing problems in our relationship. How can I get him to open up more to me?
It's challenging, you know. So they say, you know, men are from Venus, women are from Mars, one of those ones. I think, you know, some people are very logically based. And it's not their natural way to be emotionally expressionate, especially if they're very logical, right? Big up to all the accountants and IT consultants who often come into therapy kind of wanting to work out what's going on. I think that can be very frustrating. There's no two ways about that. And, you know, some of the things that I often recommend sometimes is you can buy like cards, relationship cards. I used these with a partner before, actually. I'm not here to promote them, but
that's fine. It's fine, yeah.
It's really a wonderful way to start a conversation.
Do you have it over a glass of wine or something, or what?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've also bought cards from the School of Life on relationship, and I remember once asking a partner, I said, "Who do you think puts?" The question was, "Who puts more into the relationship?"
Oh no,
me or you? It was an eye-opening conversation.
Did you get to the second card, or did it just at the end on that one?
No, because I thought, you know it's me that puts all the energy in. I was left reeling a bit, but I got to the truth. So it's a profound way to begin to...
But it's a simple question, but, you know, who's to say what annoyance someone harbours because they believe it's they, or, you know, so that's really, really interesting, and see the benefit of that.
Yes, it brings up what might not usually be articulated. I really encourage people to get relationship questions. It's and you know what? It's good on car journeys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You've said that before. You've said that before. I'm not convinced, but anyway, you are the expert. Keely, do you see any trend or pattern in emotional maturity? You know, I presume you see people of all ages, and we have the conversation on this programme from time to time about how young people are being reared now, how they're being maybe protected from certain things or exposed to other things. Maybe we're overprotective, or maybe they're living at home for longer than they used to. Are you seeing any noticeable pattern in sort of emotional development? Like it's like that question earlier on about the two of them can't decide whether to get married or not, and it's a good question and a good question to pose, but I just wonder, is there anything to that? I'm not attributing it to that comment, but I do wonder sometimes.
What I notice in private practice is people are using their insurance packages. So if you get Bupa, Aviva, AXA, and you get access to therapy, I think what I'm seeing now is more people using that service that would have never potentially from COVID, and when there might be an annual health check, expressing, for example, I drink a little bit too much, and then being referred on. So I think there's something quite interesting about what I see that more so through EAP, it's called Employee Assistance Programs. And I'm getting a lot of men coming through, and working with men is very different in terms of talking about emotions. There's just different tactics, because it can create, you know, a resistance, a reaction. So I'm mindful of that. And I think what I've observed, people are becoming much more aware of mental health. And I think generally the challenge is if you don't have insurance, you may not be able to access it in the way that you would like. But I think more and more people are using, if they have those benefits with an employer, that service to begin to make more sense of themselves and their world. And I see a lot of men using that in ways that I don't think they would have done before.
Right, 2 questions if you don't mind. My friend is just a bit too friendly with guys when we go out. I love her partner and we are all really good friends. He's a really nice guy. Nothing has happened, but I know if he's seen her in action, he'd be absolutely gutted. I don't know if I should say something or not.
I guess I always go inwards. So I'd be curious about what is your distress about? What is it about her behavior that distresses you? And like you said, potentially that's because you know that if her partner was there, she would rein it in. It may be worth a conversation. It may be just worth own it for yourself. Own it like, I just wanted to have a conversation with you. I've noticed that when we were out on a night, XYZ, because I find it a bit uncomfortable. You have to own it and not judge. Judgment is just going to take it far left. Especially if you think you're coming from a moral high ground, I would say it's about addressing it in a curious way, owning how you feel uncomfortable about it, and then seeing where that goes, and letting your friend know it comes from a place of love.
Is there any scenario where, though, she goes to the partner and says, look, when we're out, your other half, puts it about a bit socially?
Well, you just wrecked your relationship with your friend, right?
Yeah.
And
the other half, he could go on the defensive, say, hey, I trust her. Why are you getting involved in our stuff? You could find yourself down two friends.
Let's be frank. My loyalty is to my friend. So I'm going to have the conversation there first before I go off to any partner. I'm going to want to have a dialogue with my friend first.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be of the, what they say, snitches get stitches.
Yes.
Give my colloquialism, but I think I would start with my friend.
Yeah,
that's the basis of our relationship.
Yeah, my partner insists on sharing everything on social media. Last week, she tagged me in a silly photo that I never wanted to see the light of day. I do have an online reputation through work, and I've made it very clear that I don't want this stuff shared. So what should I do?
Have the conversation.
Unfriend her, block her, or block him.
Exactly, especially if you've got a public persona and it's not in keeping with, if you're out on
everyone has now. If you're in the Guards, if you're a teacher or the police force, a teacher, work for the NHS or the HSE. Everyone now has got a public profile, don't they?
Absolutely. I think for some people they can be much more free. Like, for example, I have to be mindful about what I post, and I don't tend to post my personal life because of the nature of what I do. So obviously it depends on the nature of what they do, but I think it's important to express that this is not for me. But people can take that really personally because they may be someone who spends a lot of time on social media and may need to display how wonderful their life is. And sometimes this can be about having different values.
I think people I genuinely don't judge people. Everyone's different. Everyone's situation's different. I get that. But you do wonder sometimes when it's clear that people live their life on social media, that they believe social media is actually real when we all know it's not. You do wonder what's missing in the real life, if that makes sense. I mean, social media is important, don't get me wrong, but it ain't all that either.
No, exactly. And for some people, they're trying to portray a particular lifestyle, and they're fine. But if you and your partner are on different pages, that's definitely something to have a conversation about.
All right, Keely Taverner, hiya to your Instagrammers. Psychotherapist, author and coach. If people want to get in touch with you, Keely, how do they go about doing so?
keyforchange.com.
Simple as. Have a lovely one. Take care of yourself. Great to see you looking so happy. All right, Keely Taverner there. 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and texts to that number. Or give us a call on 07491 25,000. It is 11:31 on Thursday. Friday tomorrow, of course. We have our Friday panel lined up for you. A great combination of guests to discuss the big stories of the day and week between 9 and 10. Anything you want them, we can see if we can throw it on the agenda. Message us 086 60 25,000. What might you be interested to hear about? Maybe if I started getting the lineup on a Thursday. We do have it all well planned out and all, so well in advance. And what else do we have? Is Seamus on tomorrow? No, it's not. That's next week, isn't it? But we definitely have Michael and Fionnuala in 11 till 12 as well. That and so much more besides. Right, okay, that's tomorrow though. We still got 28 minutes to get through today.
Watch the show live now on YouTube. YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Tá mudna in ESB Networks ag gobar lena chintu go bhfuil síl glán letrach in ándún go léir an éidean. Agus mar chud san chlór náisiúnta an méadrú cliste, tá méadid cliste letrachis á sitsálinis agan i de cheantar. A bhuichastó is beag billa measta a diofatú. Cáir se leat súla chuineal ar an méid letrachis a úsáidin tú ar bhealach níos fearr, agus ba fáil agad ar thorgaí agus seirbhísí cliste. Déanam it sangó leat rih hitsal de bhéidir. Tá tuile ólis le fáil ag esbnetworks.ie/smart meter.
Time is ticking on the hottest sale of the year at Easy Living Furniture. The spectacular summer sale must end this Sunday. With absolutely everything reduced, unbeatable offers and 0% finance available, now is the perfect time to invest in comfort and style. Transform your home today. Our dedicated team are here to help. So visit Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park. The spectacular summer sale must end this Sunday.
The 8th annual Letterkenny Busking Festival is on Saturday the 29th of July, with musicians and singers performing all along the main street from 1:30 to 3. It's an afternoon of great street entertainment. That's the Letterkenny Busking Festival on Saturday the 29th of July. Come along and join in the fun. See Letterkenny Busking Festival on Facebook for more details.
Glenella Garden Fete takes place this Saturday the 29th at Franklin's Glenella Estate from 2 p.m. We've tea, cake stalls, bric-a-brac and much more, with proceeds in aid of Glenella Church Fund.
Okay, the latest round of stats from the Census have been released by the CSO. Brendan Murphy, statistic, number cruncher, joins us on the programme now. Hi, Brendan.
Hi, Greg. How's it going?
Good to chat to you. The latest release focuses on housing figures in Donegal, just out this morning. So what are the headline figures from the Census in this regard, Brendan?
So we can see now that there were nearly 86,000 houses and apartments in Donegal in the 2022 census. That's up from 84,000 just under 84,000 in 2016. So that's an increase of 2% in the housing stock. So we've seen what we've seen is the housing stock has increased by say less than the population, which is up by a bit more than that. But what we've seen is that while some people are obviously moving into these additional houses and new homes, a lot of people are moving into vacant dwellings. So we've seen a fall in the number of vacant dwellings in Donegal. It's down 11%. So we've now about 12,500 vacant, down from 12,500 vacant homes down to 11,000 vacant homes.
Now, what will happen, and it always happens, is people will start conflating vacant homes and holiday homes. So just break that down for us so it's absolutely clear as to the makeup there, Brendan.
So yeah, so the number of sorry, that was an error by me there. Yeah, sorry, the number, so 12,000 vacant homes down from 12,000 vacant homes to 9,500. But the number of holiday homes is actually up from 11,000 to 12,500. So that's a separate thing. Yeah, so there's been an increase in holiday homes. They're unoccupied and census nice. So holiday homes are where a house that's used for occasional use, maybe by the owner or by the but for as a short-term let or short-term rental property. But then a vacant dwelling is a dwelling where no one lives normally, and there's no one there, and that's nice, and somewhere where no one would call home. Now, it does include maybe some properties that might be vacant for a short period of time, maybe a property that's being sold, the owners have moved out, it's on the market before the next owners move in, and then it would include other, properties like that. But then it does include then, longer term vacant properties that might be vacant for a number of years. And, we can see that we can actually look at kind of, at how long, properties are vacant, and we've looked at, whether properties are vacant over in the 2016 census and were still vacant in the 2022 census. And we can see that about 6%, I think, of properties in Donegal were vacant in both censuses. So that's kind of a smaller amount that are maybe vacant over the longer period.
That's 6%, isn't it? You said 6%, yeah. So really, the figures indicate that the increased demand for housing is being met by people moving into vacant dwellings rather than new housing stock. I mean, that's what the figures indicate.
Yeah, in places like in areas like Donegal, that's what's happening, and in Leitrim similarly, but then in other parts of the country, in Meath and Kildare, there's kind of the number of new homes is increasing at the same rate as the population. So there's kind of homes being built in Meath and Kildare, and then people are moving into those homes. Whereas in other areas where the population is increasing, the housing stock's not increasing at the same rate, but people are moving into vacant dwellings. Yeah, and the number of vacant dwellings is coming down. So yeah, there's I think 11% of homes were vacant in Donegal, down from like 14% in the previous census.
Over the course of the last 6 years, there's only been an increase of less than 1,000 in owner-occupied homes in Donegal. Now, when you consider the amount of people that would be either moving to the county or coming to the age of maturity whereby they might be looking to own a home, how does that figure compare nationally off the top of your head? It seems tiny. Over 6 years, less than 1,000 extra owner-occupied homes in Donegal?
Yeah, well, I suppose what you've got is you've got 1,000 more. So you've got fewer people who have a mortgage now, so that's down about 10%. So the number, there was about 16,000 people with a mortgage in Donegal who owned their home with a mortgage in Donegal in 2016, but that's down to less than 15,000. So there's kind of fewer people taking out mortgages, and like we can see, like as we said in Donegal, there's not as many new builds, so there's not as many people moving into these new build properties. But the number of people who own their homes outright has gone up, so there's more people who've paid off their mortgages. So that's like maybe about less than 26,000 in 2016. That's up to over 28,000 now. So there's kind of 3,000 more people have kind of bought their homes and don't have a mortgage anymore. But there are more people renting. So the number of renting is up 13%. So we've 8,400 people nearly, or 400 households renting in Donegal in the last census. So that's gone up a bit.
And we're seeing an increase too in a huge jump, albeit from a relatively low base, of older people, 65 and over, who are living in rented homes.
Yeah, so I suppose the whole population is getting older, and as the population is getting older, then people who are renting, say in their 50s, and then in this census now they were in their 50s in the last census, and now they're in their 60s in this census, and so they're still renting, and so we're seeing increases in the numbers that are renting. But it's people that were, say, renting in the last census are kind of still renting in this census, but they're getting older. So as opposed to maybe people who are it's not so much people who would have owned a home and are now renting. It's more that people who were renting in the last census are still renting, but they've gotten a lot older, gotten a bit older. So yeah, we have seen that. It's about 17,000 households now over the age of 65 renting. And I think it's 632 in Donegal, which that's 70% more households where the main person living there was over 65 and over.
Now, this is one that flabbergasts me, because there's been new questions asked in the most recent census. One of the questions was, how many do you have a working smoke alarm in your home? In Donegal, am I reading this correctly? And I wonder, are these occupied homes? 2,150 homes in Donegal, they don't have a smoke alarm.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, and they would be occupied homes.
Wow.
And I think we saw 72,000 homes across the country where the people living there said that they'd no working smoke alarm. I think that figure for Donegal there, that's where somebody's living. You can see it's obviously mostly the age of the home isn't the main factor. Maybe slightly more common in older homes. Some of the newer homes now often have multiple smoke alarms, so 3 or 4. You can see that in the data that people are responding with more smoke alarms in newer homes. But there's still a kind of a consistent amount of homes that don't have a smoke alarm, and I think it's slightly higher in detached homes rather than like maybe semi-detached houses or apartments. So some of the maybe older detached houses are less likely to have a working smoke alarm.
Well, get it. We need to get everyone. Everyone needs a smoke alarm.
The question was a working smoke alarm. Maybe they just need to put the batteries in or whatever.
I know.
But important, that people.
And a lot of people have an out-to-date smoke alarm, thinking it's a working one as well. But listen, we're not going to get into that, Brendan. Just last one, actually, by the way. And again, albeit from a lower base, but that's in the context of wages and disposable income being from a lower base as well. But rent went up just short of 30% over the course of the last 6 years in Donegal.
Yeah, so the average weekly rent in Donegal is €134 per week, or was €134 per week in the last census. So, it's kind of been going up. It went up in the previous census as well, and it's gone up even more again. So that works out, I think, about €575 per month.
I'm shocked at that's the average rent in this county. I think if there were 100 houses now with rent of $550 a month, their hands would be bitten off them. Does that include, which might skew the figures a little bit, social housing stock?
That would be rent. I think that's the rent to the. I have to just double check. I think that's the rent to the private landlord.
Right, okay.
A separate one for the social housing stock. I think what you can find is that the average rent, on advertised rental properties can be a bit higher. So people who are looking to move into a property for the first time, their rent can be a bit higher than people who have been in a property for a longer period of time, and maybe their rents haven't increased by the same rate.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, okay.
That's something we've seen. All right.
Yeah, for sure. Long-term renters then maybe dragging that average down. All right, fascinating stuff, Brendan. It's all available on the website cso.ie. But thanks for running through the figures with us and on a release this morning. We do appreciate it.
No problem. All the best.
All right, Brendan Murphy, statistician with the Census section of the CSO. So some interesting headline figures there. An increase in holiday homes, 18% less, 18% more people have moved into derelict, vacant properties. All right, some interesting stuff. All right, 086 60 20 5000. Do I have to take a break? I do have to take this break, and then we'll be back with more.
This Sunday, the 30th of July, is Superhero Steam Sunday at Oakfield Park. The regal Duchess of Dublin steam locomotive will take passengers on a magical trip through the gardens on Ireland's longest miniature gauge railway, with many pleasing sights along the way. Make it a family day out, exploring the magnificent gardens with a hedge maze, playground, sculptures and miles of walking paths, plus a chance to meet all your favourite superheroes. Why not dress up the kids as their favourite superhero? Open 11 to 6 with no booking required and normal gate fees apply. For Superhero Steam Sunday, July the 30th at Oakfield Park.
Pick up the perfect dinner guest at M&S with 20% off our classics wine range. Maybe a crisp, elegant Pinot Grigio, or a sparkling Prosecco, or perhaps a sumptuous Chianti. With 33 wines in the range, there's a classic wine for every occasion, and you'll only get them with 20% off at your local M&S. Terms and conditions apply. Please drink responsibly.
The new Volkswagen ID Buzz. Fully electric, fully connected, full of new ideas. An icon of a new era. The all-electric ID Buzz combines comfort, sustainable mobility and fun wherever you take it. Available now with 0% PCP finance from just $259 per month for July 2023 registration only. Book a test drive today with Connolly's Volkswagen, Letterkenny, or see connolly's.ie. Terms and conditions apply. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland and is subject to lending criteria. Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Visit connolly's.ie for further information.
Malin RNLI is thrilled to announce its upcoming 30th anniversary celebration on Sunday, July 30th. The organisers have planned a remarkable day of fundraising events that everyone can enjoy, with the Tower to Town 16k Walker Run Challenge, a 5k runner walk, raft and kayak race, music on the green, and the OR118 Coast Guard helicopter display. Malin RNLI cordially invites everyone to join in the festivities and support this momentous milestone. This ad is kindly sponsored by Forward Emphasis Malin.
Okay, we're joined on the programme now by Janice. Good morning to you, Janice. Thanks for taking the call.
Morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm okay. Right, you are hoping someone out there might have been in a similar position before and might be able to help. And this relates to a member of your family. What's the situation, Janice?
So the situation is my son, Joshua, applied for carers allowance to care for my daughter, to enable me to work.
Mm-hmm.
which then is going to enable me, obviously, to pay for all her appointments, private appointments, etc. Now, this was back in November last year, so we're talking 9 months ago, and we're still fighting it. We're not getting anywhere. You know, we put in a review, we put in an appeal. We're not getting no answers whatsoever. We're just kind of at our wits' end. You know, he's 20 years of age. He's took on a big responsibility, you know, as does anybody that, you know, provides care. And I just feel like we're not getting anywhere. We don't know who to turn to. We're just wondering if anyone's been in the situation, what they've done. Are we at the stage we need to fund a solicitor, you know, to fight this for us?
We're going to make inquiries as well, of course, here. So, I mean, in them refusing the original application, did they give a reason? Is it they believe that he's not actually a full-time carer for his sister?
The social welfare inspector came out. I'll not mention her name, but
no,
she had
don't.
come out.
Yeah.
And she had come to the door. She'd actually, you know, when she had left my house, I was actually in tears. She accused Joshua that he wasn't living there. She didn't believe he was living there and he wasn't providing full-time care for Amelia. You know, which isn't the case. Joshua's never lived anywhere else. I don't think I'll ever get him out of home, you know, but so it was down to her belief that he wasn't living there and he wasn't providing full-time care for her. We obviously argued the case. We put in a review, we put in an appeal, we put in even more evidence, you know, that he is providing care. We recently, there a few weeks back as well, the bloke in Census here in Buncrana helped us out with a letter showing that there is more care now because she's moved from casting and the orthotic bracing, you know, so there's more that needs to be done with that. We proved the fact that I'm contracted to 36 hours a week, yet for carers allowance you have to do a minimum 35 hours a week. Mm-hmm. Now, my very minimum of work is 36 hours a week. Generally, I do a lot more than that. You know, I'm meant to be on my week off now, but if I ended up covering today, tomorrow, I'm covering Saturday, Sunday, and I have a mandatory training course on Monday, so there's an extra 5 days that it's like, right, Joshua, you have to have her now so I can work. Not have to have her. He's willing to have her. You know, I mean, he enjoys having her and has that bond with her.
It enables you to work, and as you say, you're saving the state to some extent because in working you're able. Well, firstly, it would cost much more for the care to be provided outside of the home if that were relevant, but also in terms of you're paying for expenses, appointments, and all that kind of stuff. Your son caring's allowing you to do that. You're funding that yourself, so it makes every sense for the state to recognise your son as his sister's carer.
It really does, Greg. You know, like I've at the stage, I've kind of contemplated quite a few times, you know, of handing him my notice to work because I feel like I'm putting his life on hold because he's getting nothing. Now, I'm lucky in the position that I'm in with the work that I have. You know, I'm able to kind of obviously provide for both of them, you know, and hand him out a bit of money, which I don't mind doing, but you know, he's finding it tough because, as he says, you know, I work hard to earn those wages. It's not up to me to kind of keep him at 20 years of age. But you know, like you can't even go out and grab a cup of coffee with his mates without borrowing money off me.
Of course, but he's also a full-time carer. And full-time carers get an allowance when they're recognised as being full-time carers. He's not looking for nothing that he's not entitled to. Yes, it's his sister. Yes, it's great that he can care for his sister, but he is also a full-time carer and should be recognised as such. I don't think that's, you know, there's no two sides to that. Have you had an appeal officially rejected, or was it just the first application that's been officially rejected and you've had no contact since?
The first application was refused, so we were advised then to put in for a review and appeal. We were told to do both of them at the same time. They acknowledged that they had received them, and that's it. You know, we've had counsellors, secretaries, you know, contacting them, asking them, you know, what's happening, and the only response that we're getting back is Joshua will be informed in writing when a decision is made. Now, we were told originally when it was refused, and we put in the review and the appeal, that it would take between, I think it's 12 or 15 weeks. Don't quote me on that, I'm not sure. But even if it is the 15 weeks, we're way beyond that, and we've still had nothing. You know, and this is 9 months down the line now.
Yeah. Yeah. And really this has all come from, if I'm not mistaken, one person's, who's nameless, one person's opinion. So if that person initially in the inspection had says, right, okay, we're good to go, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. It has come down to one person's opinion.
It has come down to that one person's opinion. And, you know, we're very, not that we're very focal on what's going on, but, you know, my daughter has a Facebook page. It's obvious Joshua's caring for her. he takes her out and about, play parks. Like, she had actually said if he was providing full-time care, he should be in the house 24/7.
Yeah.
I said, so he shouldn't be taking his sister out to the play park. He shouldn't take her to the shop, out to her grandparents. I says, no, she should be in the house 24. He should be in the house 24/7 if he's providing care. Now, that sounds barbaric to me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, listen, I know you've had politicians' offices on this. We're going to make inquiries ourselves. I am optimistic. Hopefully something might come of this. Janice, for you, for your son, what he's doing to be recognised as it should be, for also his well-being, that he has his own money to do his own things as well, but also that he can continue in the job he wants to do, but not job, but you know what I mean, in caring for his sister. So leave it with us. Let's hope there's a positive resolution to it.
Yeah, perfect.
Right, thanks.
Great.
Take care. Bye-bye. All right, take care of yourself. 086 60 25,000.
At Manor Motors Opel, we're half-full type of people, which is how we come up with the Opel 50/50 finance offer. Choose from the Opel Crossland, Corsa or Mica. Select your flexible payment option. Pair it with 3 years free servicing and meet your new other half. Discover more about Opel's 50/50 offer at the Opel Open Road event. See manormotors.ie for details. Finance is provided by way of a consumer hire purchase agreement by Bank of Ireland Finance. Lending criteria and conditions apply over 18s only. Ownership remains with Bank of Ireland until the final payment is made. Bank of Ireland Trading as of Bank of Ireland Finance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
I've just had the Eclipse Cinemas experience. Wow, they truly have taken a night at the movies to a whole new level. Amazing recliner chairs, director's lounge VIP rooms, pizza and hot food served to your seat. Have a glass of wine and enjoy the film on the big screen. Try it for yourself at Eclipse Cinemas, Bundoran and Lifford Strabane, where the stars shine brighter. By the way, the pizzas are amazing. You can book your seat anytime at eclipsecinemas.ie.
Thinking of changing your floors? Why not see what Florid Letterkenny has to offer? Florid have a large selection of solid, semi-solid and laminate click vinyl wood flooring, together with a fantastic choice of parquet, herringbone flooring, all at incredible value. Don't delay. Call Florid today on 087 161 7008.
Now, we're joined on the programme by Phil Coulter. Phil, thank you so much for taking the call this morning. We really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure to talk on Highland Radio, Greg. Always a pleasure.
And I wish it were under different circumstances. It's in relation to the very sad passing at just 56 years of age of Sinead O'Connor, someone you worked with. You produced some of her work. She famously recorded one of your tracks as well. I mean, your background is second to none. So who better to sort of assess Sinead as an artist than yourself, Phil? How brilliant was she?
Without a doubt, on a purely musical level, she was one of the finest voices this country has ever produced. I mean, I'm fortunate that I've worked in the studio with some major global talents. But Sinead O'Connor was up there with the finest of them, and she was, without a shadow of a doubt, something very, very special. From a songwriter's point of view, her ability to breathe life into a lyric was exceptional. I mean, I consider myself very blessed that she recorded a couple of my most personal songs, Scorn Not His Simplicity and The Shores of the Swilly. And her ability just to inhabit a lyric and to bring it to life was uncanny. Because here's the great irony about Sinead. The image of Sinead that a lot of people have was of, being very lippy and very mouthy and just defending her very passionately held beliefs, which she was very ready to do. And that attracted as much criticism as it did admiration, I have to say. But for me, those were distractions, For me, people had forgotten why Sinead became famous in the first place, which was her voice. That's a God-given instrument which was second to none, and it was an otherworldly voice. And that's something which I think my firm belief is that Sinead was never happier than when she was actually singing. That was when she was at her best. That's when she was at peace. And my sad prayer now is that God love her, that she's finally found peace, because she did have a troubled life. She was a complex lady, Sinead.
Yeah, and as I said earlier in the show, Phil, it's that side of her that I felt. Her normality, she had to deal with what a lot of people had to deal with, and particularly last year in the passing of her son. It's just absolutely heartbreaking. But she leaves behind her such a legacy of amazing music by all accounts.
Entirely. I mean, she's one of the few global superstars that this country's ever produced. I mean, you just have to look at the outpouring of grief right across the world, internationally, right across Europe, right across the United States. She was, she left an imprint. There's no doubt about that. I consider myself very fortunate to have worked with Sinead, to have written songs for. I mean, I'll tell you about Sinead, about that fragility in Sinead, because even Greg, in her finest hours, when everything was going swimmingly in her career, there was a vulnerability to Sinead. There was always a fragile side to Sinead, which I was aware of very early on. I'll tell you, this is a story of how I got the gig to produce Sinead. I was working with Van Morrison, producing an album called No Prima Donna, which was a tribute album where guests were invited to come on and sing a Van Morrison song, and Sinead was one of those chosen. On a particular evening that she was coming in to do her bit, in the control room, there was Van Morrison, there was Elvis Costello, there was Marianne Faithfull, there was Derek Bell from the Chieftains. So this was a gathering of pretty heavyweights, I looked down to the studio and see Sinead come in, and she looked up at the control room and saw this gathering of heavyweights. And right there, myself being a father of a lot of daughters, I could see, what I saw was not the lippy, mouthy Sinead O'Connor. What I saw was a very vulnerable, very shy young woman. This was back in 1994. So I did two things, Greg. First of all, I cleared the control room. Secondly, I went down to Sinead, and we'd only spoken on the phone. And I went up to her and I gave her a hug. And I said, Sinead, forget about all of those guys. You and I are here now. Just relax, and we're going to make this happen. And you're going to be fine. What does that tell you? It tells you that Sinead needed that. I found that she needed that. Someone to put an arm around her and say, you know what, Sinead, this is going to be fine. Because the very next day, Greg, because we got on so well, because she had found in me somebody that was not only able to produce her records, but had a kind of a fatherly, protective kind of a streak. The following day, she called me and she said, Phil, I can't get over how chilled out you are. Would you like to produce my new album? That's the truth. That's how our relationship started. And that was the relationship right through the album. There was never a crossword. She never threw the toys out of the pram. There was no histrionics, no drama. I found her to be a superb professional, and her voice in the studio, trust me, was something otherworldly.
Phil Coulter, thank you so much for your time, and what a beautiful tribute. Thank you indeed. Phil Coulter there, speaking about the passing of the late and great Sinead O'Connor. That's where we have to leave it on the programme today. We'll be back with you